Chapter 1806. No matter what, I didn't discover this black Qilin, and neither did the rest of the Mo family. This means that this guy's concealment skills are commendable. Duan Murong and Dustless had different opinions. Since this guy could deceive the Mo family, it was enough to prove that his ability was commendable. Now that Dustless had seen through him, it was not because the black Qilin was useless, but because this guy chose the wrong target. Wasn't he courting death by choosing a non-human as his enemy? Actually, Dustless smiled as he gloated. This guy called Black Qilin is very important to Wei Zhuang. If possible, we can use him to take revenge on Wei Zhuang. Take advantage. Hearing this unfamiliar term, Duan Murong hesitated for a moment and said, "You mean to use this guy as bait to lure Wei Zhuang? Although you are an ancient person, your understanding is quite fast." Dustless nodded and smiled. This guy is very important to Wei Zhuang. We can't lose him. The Black Qilin's assassination mission has almost never failed. I will report to Master Juzi. Duan Murong's eyes lit up. She felt that this plan was feasible and reported it to Yandan. Thank you. Dustless nodded and watched Duan Murong leave. After seeing her beautiful figure disappear, Dustless followed after her decisively. No, we can't do that. Hearing Wu Chen's plan, Yandan, the great son of the Mo family, rejected it without even thinking. He said loudly, "The Mo family is a famous sect in the world. How can we use such a petty trick? Although Wei Zhuang is shameless, we must learn from him. Otherwise, the teachings of the Mo family over hundreds of years will be destroyed." Not only did Yandan reject Dustless's plan, he even criticized it as a despicable plan. All is fair in war. This plan is the best choice. Your sect's teachings seem to be too stubborn. Master Fan of the Xiang family immediately expressed a different opinion. The mechanical city of the Mo family was surrounded by enemies and could be conquered by the Great Qin Empire's iron armor army at any time. What was there to talk about despicable? This was too much of a joke. Moreover, you can be open and aboveboard with the enemy and pay attention to the gentleman's agreement. However, the enemy just loves to play tricks and continue to be stubborn. Sooner or later, you will be digging your own grave. Master Fan. Xiao Yu tugged at Master Fan's sleeve and whispered, "No matter what, it's not appropriate for us to say such things with our current status. Master Fan, please be careful with your words." Young Master's words are reasonable. I was careless. Master Fan nodded. Thinking of their current awkward status, the Xiang clan was just a stray dog. They had no right to talk about the Mo clan. At the end of the day, they still had to rely on the Mo clan. This is a matter of principle. Yandan shook his head and said, "I appreciate Mr. Dustless's kindness." However, for hundreds of years, the Mo family has always pursued an open and honorable policy. Generations of Yandan's sons have been heroes. If you want me to use such a despicable method, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Yandan's expression was stubborn and inflexible, as if he had no intention of hiding anything. I also object. A gentle and elegant voice came quietly. Then, a handsome young man with a strong scholarly aura entered Dustless's eyes. It's him? Dustless raised his eyebrows. This person gave Dustless an impression of déjà vu. Zhang Liang of the Confucian school? Seeing this, Dustless lowered his head and fell silent. The relationship between Zhang Liang, Zhang Zifang, and Wei Zhuang might not be known by others, but Dustless knew it like the back of his hand. These two were in cahoots and were even close friends despite the difference in age. I'll pass on the message. As for the specifics, it's entirely up to you. After all, I'm just an outsider. The Mo clan will decide what to do. Dustless was too lazy to poke his nose into other people's business. After all, his goal was the phantasmal sound treasure box. Nothing else mattered. After thinking for a while, Yandan finally decided, lock up that Black Qilin for the time being. This guy still has that kind of ridiculous idea until now. Wu Chen suddenly understood Yandan's idea with a contemptuous smile between his eyebrows. This guy is planning to be like Gunia and instigate Wei Zhuang to join the anti-Qin camp, right? Dustless sneered in his heart. Although Wei Zhuang did end up in cahoots with the Mo clan in the end, This Yin Dan in front of him could not see the future clearly. If there's a surprise, it's him. He raised his eyelids slightly and cast a strange gaze over. The person who entered his eyes was Zhang Liang, Zhang Zifang of the Confucian school. It was worth mentioning that this fellow was also faintly examining Wu Chen from the corner of his eyes. His eyes occasionally revealed a hint of shrewdness. He's dustless. Zhang Liang lowered his eyes. He did not have the ability to foresee the future like dustless. He had to think carefully before acting. Moreover, Zhang Liang could not help but be wary of dustless, who was a mysterious and uncertain factor. But suddenly he thought of a big problem that he could not let go of. Zhang Liang was worried and said to himself, "The Mo clan has completely offended Liu Sha. Can the two sides really work together?" Zhang Liang was annoyed and depressed. In the past, there was no enmity between the two sides. The Mo clan was hostile to Wei Zhuang because they thought that the Mo clan's great son had been killed by him. Now that Yin Dan was still alive, the groundless enmity would naturally be resolved. However, Dustless had offended Wei Zhuang. Could the two sides really resolve the enmity? Zhang Liang's answer to this was only a floating question mark. Chapter 1807. Missing? Are you joking with me? Hidden bat. Outside the mechanical city of the Mo family, Wei Zhuang's face was gloomy. "If so, you'd better take back this stupid joke. You know, I don't like to joke." Wei Zhuang's tone was obviously angry. "I don't dare to joke with Lord Wei Zhuang, but Liner is missing." Hidden Bat was so scared that he knelt down on one knee. Others in the Jianghu were terrified of him, but in front of Wei Zhuang, he was terrified. "He's missing." Wei Zhuang's voice was low. Even if he heard it 100 times, even 1,000 times, he wouldn't believe it. This subordinate is absolutely not lying. Hearing this, Hidden Bat quickly nodded to show his loyalty. "Humph, you don't dare to fool me. You should know the consequences." Wei Zhuang snorted and asked irritably, "What's the reason? Don't tell me that you didn't do anything when you sneaked into the Mo family and lost your companion." Gulp. Hidden Bat was sweating profusely. He was sure that if he didn't give Wei Zhuang a satisfactory answer, this guy would be angry and cut him with his sword. Liner Black Qilin is fine for now. He's just locked up by the Mo family. Hidden Bat quickly replied. That guy was accidentally caught when he attacked Dustless. This Dustless again. Wei Zhuang's face instantly turned ugly, and his old face was burning. First he defeated Qi Lian, followed by the Ash Wolf King. After that, it was by Feng and Gong Shuqiu. If Gong Shuqiu had not come to her rescue in time, Bai Feng might have fallen into the toilet, and her reputation would have been destroyed. After that, it was the Black Qilin who had never failed. This guy was even more miserable as he was caught alive by Dustless. Damn guy, I'd like to see who this Dustless is. Wei Zhuang's face turned cold as he said angrily. Go and call Gong Shuqiu here. Tell him to attack the mechanical city of the Mo family immediately. Understood. Hidden Bat nodded in fear. When he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and asked in a low voice. Lord Wei Zhuang, when I was evacuating the mechanical city, I met people from the Yinyang school. School of Yinyang. Wei Zhuang's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he couldn't help but be interested. He asked, who is it? 3 women, one is the great arbiter of Yinyang. Another is the young arbiter of fate, and the last one is the current magician of the empire, the moon goddess. The Hidden Bat was also familiar with the 3 of them, as they were all famous figures. Them? Hearing this, Wei Zhuang's expression changed slightly. These 3 people were all unfathomable and extremely powerful, especially the legendary moon goddess. Even Wei Zhuang was wary of her. Ignore them for now. Of course, there's no need to be afraid of them either. 10 hours later. Mechanical City has been invaded. The reception hall was filled with guests. The Maoist school's Juzi, the Taoist school's Unfettered One, the Confucian school's Zhang Liang, the Xiang clan's Sword Saint Gunia, and other experts were all discussing the upcoming battle. Of course, Dustless was also among them. Originally, Dustless did not want to participate in such a boring meeting. However, some people, such as the Maoist school's Juzi and the Confucian school's Zhang Liang, were not willing to let Dustless participate. They could not ignore or even ignore an expert who was not weaker than Gunia. I should have thought of this long ago. The Mahis school's Juzzy sighed and said. Now that the Black Chelan is invading, there must be other companions following him. The Mahis school's mechanical city is in danger. The Mahis school's Juzzy waved his hand and said decisively, retreat to the core area of the mechanical city for now and use the mechanical arts to fight against the enemy. Retreat? Dustless did not care when he heard this. He whispered, how can we retreat when the phantasmal sound treasure box has not been sold yet? I'll use my invisible doppelganger to deal with these guys. Dustless came to this world for 2 reasons. One was the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, and the other was the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. The phantasmal sound treasure box was closely related to the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. Naturally, he would not let it go so easily. Hurry up. If I'm not wrong, the one who helped the Qin army this time is Gong Shu Cho. Everyone, retreat to the core area of the Mahis school's mechanical city as soon as possible, and use the mechanical arts to deal with them. The Mahis school's Juzzy Yin Dan ordered. Dustless left quietly, leaving only an invisible doppelganger behind. He walked towards a dark tunnel on the left. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Dustless sped up. Just as he was about to disappear into the dark tunnel and reach another place, an uninvited guest suddenly appeared in front of him. Someone from the school of Inyang? Dustless stopped and stared at the beautiful woman. He suddenly realized that she looked very familiar. Kid, we are really fated to meet again. The person who spoke was one of the 2 guardians of the school of Inyang. She was also the imperial advisor of the Great Qin Empire, Moon Goddess. Are you here to catch you air? Dustless frowned and said coldly, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you now. Get out of my way. Young people are really hot-tempered. Moon Goddess smiled slowly and said coldly, His Excellency Donghuang once said that he would definitely gain something from the Mahis school's mechanical city. Other than that little girl, I think you are also the fruit of victory. I'm suddenly interested in you. Even more than the little girl that His Excellency Donghuang told me about. Moon Goddess's eyes rippled faintly as her eyes shone. Chapter 1808. You're interested in me? Hearing this, Wu Chen blinked his eyes and revealed a stunned expression. He pretended to be surprised and said, Really? I am truly honored to receive the Moon Goddess's affection. However, may I ask why the Moon Goddess is so interested in me? This guy. Why is he asking for a beating? The Moon Deity frowned slightly. Although Wu Chen kept calling her Lord Moon Deity, his teasing tone made the Moon Deity uncomfortable and uncomfortable. You have no background or identity. You appeared out of nowhere and defeated Wei Zhuang's quicksand at such a young age. It's inevitable that I'm curious about you. The Moon Goddess answered quietly. Is that so? Wu Chen nodded as if he understood. Then he squinted his eyes and asked, Speaking of which, did that Donghuang Tai predict anything else before you came? Anything else? Not really. The Moon Goddess raised her eyebrows and replied coldly, The Great Way of Yin and Yang Wuji Tai. Your Excellency Donghuang's level is not something I can understand. Don't even mention calling Your Excellency Donghuang's name. It's disrespectful. Disrespectful? How sad. Looks like that Donghuang Tai is just an ordinary person. I heard that he can predict the future through the movements of the celestial bodies, which is astrology. Then, did he predict the worst thing? The worst thing. Moon God blinked, which was rare. She asked, What do you want to say? Or were all the useless words before your last words? Meeting me is the worst thing. Didn't Donghuang Tai tell you? You're out of luck this time. Wu Chen asked jokingly. At the same time, his body disappeared in an instant. This speed. So fast. Noticing that Wu Chen had suddenly disappeared without a trace, the Moon Deity's expressionless face revealed a rare emotional panic. She tensed up and looked left and right, looking for Wu Chen's trace. You're too slow. A scornful voice suddenly sounded. The Moon Goddess was shocked. She suddenly realized that her right shoulder was grabbed by a soft hand. Boom, boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, a tyrannical ripple of energy broke out from his body. Because they were too close, all of it blasted onto Dustless. Ka ka ka. Under the concentrated attacks, Dustless's body began to undergo a horrifying change. These high-density energy ripples were like materialized fists. Without exception, they all bombarded Dustless's body. His chest began to cave in, and his layers were uneven. "How dare you approach me so rashly? How can you not die?" Moon God's voice was calm. She sounded as if victory was within her grasp. She had used all of her power, and she was certain that all of her attacks had landed on Dustless. His flexible internal organs, as well as his limbs and bones, were all affected on different scales. As expected of the right protector of the school of Yin Yang, the most trusted person of the Eastern Emperor Tai, he is indeed different. The sound of praise shocked Moon Goddess. She turned her head and saw Wu Chen smiling. At that moment, he was enduring the attack of Moon Goddess's true energy, but strangely, nothing happened to him. Boom boom boom. The true energy blasted onto Dustless's body, and there was even a metallic sound. How is this possible? How can he not die? Moon God shouted in a trembling voice. Her voice was even a bit shrill. He took a direct hit from the true energy without any warning. And he is still fine. Is this guy's skin bronze? Moon Deity's head was spinning and she felt dizzy. She finally understood why Quicksand lost to Dustless. Why are you so surprised? Seeing Moon God's stunned expression, Dustless said calmly, "In front of absolute power, no one is an exception. The Eastern Emperor Tai will follow in your footsteps in the future. The only surprising thing is..." Glancing at the energy ripples on his body, Dustless praised, "This is true energy, right? Legend has it that the school of Yin Yang specializes in Yin Yang arts. I didn't expect there to be someone like you. Don't be too proud." Hearing Dustless's senior-like tone, Moon God was shocked. Suddenly, a dazzling golden light burst out from her body. Soul Dragon swimming. The light gathered and compressed according to Moon God's will. In the end, it turned into a strange-looking giant bird. The bird's clear cry was filled with endless nobility. It flapped its wings, and a violent impact burst out from its body. The most surprising thing was that this strange-looking giant bird had 3 legs. This is the 3-legged golden crow? Dustless stared at the strange creature coming toward him. In myths and legends, such creatures had extraordinary status and were known as divine birds. Soul Dragon swimming. Let's see how extraordinary you are. The light in his hand disappeared. Dustless, who was going to crush the golden crow, suddenly stopped. He stared at the golden bird with interest. It seemed that he was going to take the attack directly with his body. Is he crazy? Seeing this, Moon God took the opportunity to break free from Dustless's restraint. Seeing that this guy was full of interest and looking at the 3-legged golden crow with anticipation, her face fell. Dustless was obviously looking down on her. In the school of Yin Yang, there were only 3 people who could use the Soul Dragon swimming so far. Moreover, their status was frighteningly high. Left Guardian Xinghun Moon God herself, and Yuer's mother, Concubine Yan, who was known as the first extraordinary woman of the school of Yin Yang. Currently, only the 3 of them could use it. As for Yuer, although she would use it in the future, she didn't know how to use it now. You overestimate yourself. Let me see where you get your confidence from to be so arrogant. Moon God snorted and stared at Dustless with her eyes wide open. At this moment, her heart was also shaken. She only hoped that the Soul Dragon swimming could seriously injure Dustless. That calm and relaxed face of his was too much of an eyesore. Chapter 1809. Brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, pay the price for your arrogance. Yueshin frowned. She was extremely unhappy with Dustless's actions. Although it was said that cultivators focused on having a clear mind and few desires, they rarely got angry, especially since Yueshin was one of the best in the school of Yin Yang. She did not know what angry meant and had never felt this way before. However, as the saying went, there were exceptions to everything. Now that Dustless had repeatedly insulted her, the anger in her heart rose. She was the second most important person in the school of Yin Yang. What did this brat take her for? A nobody that he could trample on? How dare you insult His Majesty Dong Huang, you short-sighted brat. Seeing the soulful dragon spirit rush toward Dustless, who was still acting as if nothing had happened. Yueshin's eyes narrowed into crescents as she stared straight at Dustless. She was very happy to see this despicable fellow suffer. However, Yueshin was destined to be disappointed. Dustless was completely fine. This is the so-called soulful dragon spirit? The so-called yin-yang technique? Bathing in the golden ocean, Wuchen closed his eyes, and the light kept bombarding his body like endless waves. He was carefully experiencing the different mysteries of the soul dragon swim. After a while he shook his head and said disappointedly, "What soul dragon swim? It's just a joke. I was looking forward to it, but it's just SOSO." After a while, Dustless suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the giant bird in the void. He was dispirited. "I've played enough. You can disappear now." Glancing faintly at the 3 golden crows, the surging spiritual pressure in Wu Chen's body instantly reached an incredible level. 90 black coffin of Padao. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dense energy exploded in an instant, and invisible black blades pierced toward the giant bird in the void. Uft. Uft. The inhumane dismemberment began. The 90 black coffin of Padao cut the 3-legged golden crow into 8 pieces. Its entire body was torn to pieces by the violent energy. That simple? The moon goddess stared blankly at this strange scene. In the entire school of Yin-Yang, only she, Xinghun, and concubine Yin knew how to use the soul dragon. The others didn't even know what it was. Do you think this is a profound move? What a joke. Moon God, this so-called dragon soul is actually a type of true qi. It's just that its power is a little special. It's stronger than ordinary true qi. Dustless calmly explained, dragon soul was like the tailed beast chakra in Naruto. Its density and power were higher than the human chakra. Other than that, there was nothing special about it. Don't look shocked. If you knew about my past, you probably wouldn't care about such trivial matters. Dustless approached the moon goddess like a ghost. He grabbed her chin and said, "Do you know the whereabouts of the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon?" "How do you know about this?" The moon goddess ignored Dustless's threat and retorted. She caught a glimpse of ambition in Dustless's eyes. I'm the one asking you now, not the other way around. Watch your words." Dustless snorted and said hoarsely, "Your life is still in my hands. It's useless even if you kill me. My understanding of the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon is also very limited." The moon goddess replied calmly, "If I really knew the problem with the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon, I wouldn't have counted on that little girl." "That's true." Dustless didn't comment. He didn't doubt it. Until now, the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon was still a secret. "However, I have a special hobby. I only have 2 policies for captives. One is to become my spy, and the other is to become the enemy's soul. What's your choice?" If he could make the moon goddess betray him and make her his confidant, Dustless could seize the opportunity to snatch the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon when the Yin-Yang school obtained it. "You want me to betray His Excellency Dong Huang?" The moon goddess frowned and a murderous look flashed in her eyes. She sneered and said, "Do you know who His Excellency Dong Huang is?" "I really don't know who he is." Dustless answered truthfully. Then his expression turned cold and he sneered. "However, there's one thing I'm sure of. No matter who Dong Huang Tai is, even if he knows astronomy and geography, he's no match for me." "You?" The moon goddess's mouth twitched when she heard that. She said gloomily, "How dare you say such things? Don't you know how to write the word shameless? I think you don't know how to write the word death." Dustless suddenly grabbed the moon goddess's throat. He only used a little strength, but the moon goddess's face turned red. She gasped for air as if she could suffocate at any time. "It doesn't matter if I yield to this guy for now." The moon goddess thought of a countermeasure and chose to yield for now. There was no other way. The situation was stronger than her. With her own strength, defeating Dustless was only a dream. Let's find a suitable opportunity to leave. Having made her decision, the moon goddess immediately said in a low voice, "Life is short. I still haven't understood the true meaning of living, so I'm willing to help you." That's not enough. Do you think you can convince me with just a few words?" Dustless's lips curled into a deep smile. He moved his lips close to the moon goddess's ear and said something. The latter's expression changed drastically. Chapter 1810. The moon deity was stunned. She had seen many evil ideas and heard of all kinds of weird schemes, but she was still stunned by Dustless's evil idea. You want me to sneak up on Xing Han? The moon deity's face darkened, and there was a hint of anger in her tone as she reprimanded. Do you know the consequences of sneaking up on Xing Han? He already has prejudice against me. After the sneak attack, he will definitely be punished by the Donghuang Pavilion. Donghuang Tai, you are pushing me into a fire pit. Seeing Dustless's eyes roll, the moon deity immediately changed her tone. This has nothing to do with me. Dustless shrugged and looked at the moon deity with a gloating expression. He chuckled and said, if you don't sneak up on him, I won't be able to trust you, and I will have to make that little brat vomit blood. This is difficult to do. Without even thinking, the moon deity rejected and said, Xing Han and I are on par. I am the right guardian, and he is the left guardian. We are on the same level. Difficult to do? Haha. Dustless laughed and suddenly grabbed the moon deity's neck again. He sneered and said, if you can't do it, you will die here now. You. Fine, I promise you. After thinking for a while, the moon deity finally gritted her teeth and compromised. Speaking of which, your mission this time is to take you air away, right? Dustless changed the topic and said, she seems to be the key to unlocking the secret of the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. Cough, cough, cough. That's right. The moon deity nodded. She was already prepared to fail the mission. With the relationship between Dustless and Yu Air, he would definitely not let the moon deity take Yu Air away. I will find a suitable opportunity to buy time for you. Whether you can take Yu Air away or not will depend on your ability. Dustless's words stunned the moon deity. After a moment of silence, she asked in surprise, did I hear wrongly? Are you going to help me take her away? I hope this is not an illusion. Illusion? If it's an illusion, do you think you can still lose to me? Dustless snorted and explained the reason. The 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon mean a lot to me, so I can only wrong you, for now. Your Yin-Yang school must treat her well, or else humph. Boom boom boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a shocking aura erupted from Dustless's body. Ka ka ka. Moon God's body bent unnaturally. She was being suppressed by some mysterious and powerful power. Moon God was under a lot of pressure. She started to sweat. She knelt on one knee. This isn't the aura of an ordinary human. Who the hell is this guy? Moon Goddess's body was cold. Her most basic resistance was crushed by the monstrous aura. Even the ground under her feet shook slightly as if there was an earthquake. It was enough to show how powerful Dustless's aura was. Seeing Dustless's eyes, which were as deep as the horizon, fear flashed in the Moon Goddess's eyes. It was as if her life could be taken away at any moment. It was just a thought away. This aura, Moon God's lips moved. She looked at Dustless in shock. This majestic aura was boundless. She was like a lone boat in a vast ocean that could be destroyed at any time. Moon God, remember this. This is just a simple warning. If you dare to play any tricks, hee. Do you know what a meteor hitting a planet looks like? Oh no, I should say, do you know what a meteor hitting a Yin-Yang school looks like? If you don't know, you can try to imagine it. Dustless smiled innocently. His tone was very casual. But Moon God was so shocked that she broke out in cold sweat. Although she didn't know what Dustless was talking about, Moon God could hear the endless killing intent behind his words. Okay, you can leave now. I will find a loophole and let you take Yu away. Dustless waved his hand and signaled Moon God to leave. Your subordinate will leave now. Seeing this, Moon God bowed slightly and left. Her figure disappeared from Dustless's sight in an instant. I don't think you dare to mess around. Staring in the direction that Moon God disappeared, Dustless went back the way he came. After Moon God attacked Xing Han, with his personality he will not let Moon God off easily. After this, he will definitely inform Donghuang Tai. If Donghuang Tai knows that Moon God has become one of my people, TSK. Dustless stroked his chin and smiled brightly. Donghuang Tai was a strange person. No one knew what he was thinking and no one knew his identity. All of this was still a mystery. But there was no harm in thinking about it. Once this matter was exposed, Xing Hun and Moon God would definitely turn a small matter into a big matter. Xing Hun would seize this rare opportunity and would not let Moon God off easily. After offending Xing Hun from the Yinyang school, if it was exposed that Moon God was in cahoots with Dustless, she would no longer have a place in this world. Hence, she could only cling on to Dustless's thigh with all her might, unless Moon God wanted to die. It's so quiet. On the way back, Dustless had a strange expression on his face. When he sneaked out just now, there were still many people guarding the place. However, the Mo family's mechanical city was like a dead city. There was not a single person in sight. What is this poisonous fog? Suddenly, as Dustless walked deeper and deeper, the originally fresh air suddenly became oppressive. With a slight inhale, it made people feel that their heads were swelling and their bodies had become much heavier. Could it be Qi Lianqinya? Squinting his eyes, Dustless quickened his pace. In the original work, Wei Zhuang was able to break through the Mo family's mechanical city in an extremely short period of time because of Qi Lianqinya. Chapter 1811. The Juyu Thousand Night was an extremely strange poison that originated from Crimson Viper's arm. Legend had it that it was refined over 1,000 nights, during which it could not be exposed to sunlight. Otherwise, all the previous efforts would be wasted. It spread through the respiratory tract, and the stronger the sunlight, the more poisonous it would be. It was known as when the sun is at its peak, the city will be slaughtered. It was colorless and odorless, and could kill people without leaving a trace. I forgot about this. I hope Miss Duanmu and you are fine. Dustless sighed, and went straight into the depths of Mechanical City. Come and save us. We are all disciples of the school of Moism. How dare you ignore us? Damn it, where is the basic trust between people? We are all disciples of the school of Moism, so why are you looking at us coldly? Facing some of the school of Moism's disciples who had been shot, Dustless just turned into a breeze and floated past them. He was not a member of the school of Moism, and he did not have the heart of a saint. Saving them, forget it. In the huge school of Moism, Dustless only cared about two people, Duanmu Rong and you, damn Gongshu Cho. This old man is really lucky. It was my mistake not to kill him back then. Communicating with his invisible doppelganger, Dustless learned about the terrible situation of the school of Moism. The huge mechanical city was almost under the control of the Juyu Thousand Night. Even those who barely escaped the Juyu Thousand Night were attacked by Gongshu Cho and Wei Zhuang's flowing sand. Even Yan Dan of the school of Moism and people from other sects, such as Xiao Yaozi of the school of Taoism and Zhang Liang of the school of Confucianism, were heavily injured by Wei Zhuang's cavalry. There were even quite a number of people who were captured alive. In the end, everyone fled like locusts. The current mechanical city was as chaotic as a pot of porridge. Of course, Great Si Ming and Young Si Ming of the school of Yinyang were among the people who helped Wei Zhuang. When the battle started, the anti-Qin alliance was at a complete disadvantage, even though they had experts like Yan Dan, Xiao Yaozi, and Gunia. But in the end, they were still not as strong as Wei Zhuang's side. To be safe, Gongshu Qiu even brought the strongest masterpiece of the Gongshu family, Saburo Pa, a powerful mechanical beast, into Mechanical City, causing the Mahis to be caught off guard and suppressed. Mechanical beasts were difficult to deal with, and not everyone was like Dustless, who had the strength to fight against mechanical beasts. When facing Saburo Pa, even an expert like Gunia would be doomed if he was careless. Especially this time, in order to wash away the shame, Gongshu Cho brought several Patu Saburo to attack the Mo family's mechanical city. However, although the Mo family's situation was extremely bad, the only thing that was worth rejoicing was that Tianming and Xiaoyu had all managed to escape. Moreover, just like in the original work, they had no choice but to step into the Mo family's forbidden area. Ta-ta-ta. At this moment, Dustless's footsteps suddenly came to a halt. In the tunnel ahead, there was suddenly the sound of hurried footsteps. He seems to be. Dustless squinted his eyes. When he saw who it was, he said in surprise, Yan Dan from the Mo family. It's rare to see him in such a sorry state. Dustless laughed eerily. It was very strange and had an inexplicable chill. His body was like a block of ice, emitting a deadly chill and killing intent. This was a good opportunity to kill Yandan. Dustless tried to understand Yandan, but in the end, they were not the same kind of people. Yandan only wanted to save the world and save all living things, while Dustless wanted to live on as if nothing had anything to do with him. The difference in their ideals was too great, especially when Yandan had once abandoned his wife and daughter. This made Dustless even more annoyed. "It's you? Mr. Dustless, it's great to have met you." Yandan, who was like a stray dog, had an excited expression on his face. When he thought of the Mo family's miserable state, he immediately asked for help. "Mr. Dustless, although it's a little embarrassing to let you face Wei Zhuang alone, the safety of the Mo family is now in danger, and only you can save it." Hearing this, Dustless did not say anything. He just glanced at Yandan and said coldly, "Yandan, who do you think caused the Mo family's miserable state?" "This, of course it's the great Qin Empire. If it weren't for Yingzheng, how would we be in such a crisis? Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha and the Gongshu family are all working for him." Yandan clenched his fist and said angrily. He was out of breath, and there was a cloud of black gas between his eyebrows. It seemed that he had been poisoned by Juyu Qianya. Although he had taken Duan Murong's 100-herb elixir as soon as he smelled Juyu Qianya's scent, it was already too late. "No, the person who caused all the danger today is you, the Mo family's Yandan." Dustless's words shocked everyone, pushing all the blame to Yandan. "You're mistaken. The Mo family's current crisis is caused by Yingzheng. What does it have to do with me?" Without even thinking about it, Yandan directly denied bringing the Mo family into danger. "Although I am not talented, I will not bring the entire Mo family into danger. Otherwise, after the Tao of life and death is gone, how can I face the Mo family in the future? What you say sounds good, but your actions have brought the Mo family into danger." Dustless sneered and said sarcastically, "You know that going against the Qin Empire is like throwing an egg against a rock, but you still led the Mo family to go against the Qin Empire. Isn't this like a moth flying into a flame, seeking your own death?" Hearing this, Yandan opened his mouth, but suddenly he became silent. Dustless's words were reasonable. Chapter 1812. As everyone knew, the state of Qin was a super empire that unified the world. It ended the hundreds of years of conflict in this land. Whether Emperor Qin's merits outweighed his faults or his faults outweighed his merits was not important. All one needed to know was that for a sect like the Mo family, the state of Qin was a giant that they could not afford to offend. However, they still wanted to touch the tigers, but even though they could not afford to offend it, wasn't this an act of seeking death? "Mister, your prejudice against the Mo family is too great. The people of the world are living in an abyss of suffering. It is the responsibility of the Mo family to fight against the tyrannical Qin and save the people from the prison." After a moment of silence, Yandan said, "Unite all the schools of thought to fight against the king of Qin, Yingzheng. This is the voice of everyone who has been oppressed. So the Mo family's destruction is also your own fault." Dustless shrugged with an expression that said, "Serves you right." The Mo family tried to persuade the people of Yingzheng to fight against Yingzheng. They even united all the sects in the world to fight against the state of Qin. Now that Yingzheng had gone mad and destroyed the Mo family, how could they blame Yingzheng? Yandan stared at Dustless with his burning eyes and said in a deep voice, "Mister, do you think what Yingzheng did was right?" "That's not it." Dustless shook his head when he heard this and said softly, "Our standpoints are different, so our opinions are naturally different. There is no right or wrong in this world. There are only winners and losers. The final winner will decide everything. It seems like Mr. still thinks what the Mo family did was wrong. That's why you chose to look at it coldly." Speaking of this, Yandan's face gradually turned ugly. "That's right. In my eyes, what the Mo family did was stupid. Or rather, as the leader of the Mo family, you Yandan are stupid." Dustless did not hide the sneer on his face. He said coldly, "The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. What's the point of talking about justice? What a joke." The winner is the righteous one. Looking at the thousands of years of history, no matter what the final outcome was, no matter good or bad, the person who wrote the history was always the winner who stepped on the loser's head. Mister, you are wrong. Rolling his eyes, Yandan immediately retorted with a flushed face, Sir. I say, Master Juzi, if I remember correctly, you were poisoned by the Juyu Qianya, right? A sudden question interrupted Yandan. Dustless's eyes shone with a strange light. Yes, I was accidentally poisoned. Not only me, but most of the people in the Mo family were poisoned as well. It's just that everyone's symptoms are different. I have a vigorous inner body. After taking Miss Rong's 100 herbs pill, I can temporarily suppress it. Although Yandan had no idea what dustless meant, he still nodded and admitted it. TSK, this is perfect. Dustless smacked his lips, and the gloomy smile on his face became even more obvious. Perfect? Hearing this, Yandan raised his eyebrows slightly. He cupped his fists and asked in confusion, I'm ignorant. May I ask, what do you mean by perfect? Of course. The oily light in Dustless's eyes turned into an awe-inspiring strength. In a flash, his body disappeared without a trace. What a fast speed! Seeing this, Yandan's pupils shrank. He had long heard that Dustless's speed was as fast as lightning. When he moved, he could not even see a trace of him. Now that he saw it, he suddenly felt that the previous saying was ridiculous. This could no longer be described as fast. According to Yandan's understanding, this was basically a space jump. Pfft! Suddenly, Yandan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He quickly lowered his head, and his eyes widened. He wanted to see the horror, but he saw a golden sword end his life. The Mo family's Yandan was poisoned. His strength was suppressed without limit, and then he was killed by the Qin Kingdom's soldiers. Isn't this your perfect death? The person holding the sword was precisely the Dustless with a cold and callous face. Why did you do this? It hurts. The Mo family's Yandan raised his head with difficulty. The wound was still burning. The skin on his chest was all burned by the glowing sword. Why? Dustless curled his lips and said coldly, I don't like to kill innocent people. The only thing that annoys me is that you are too hypocritical and heartless. This is the reason why I killed you. You said I'm hypocritical and heartless? Hearing this, the Mo family's Yandan raised his voice a few times. It was as if he suddenly regained his strength and shouted, I take it as my responsibility to save the world. How dare you say I'm heartless? If I'm successful, I will rule the world. If I'm poor, I will only care about myself. I will overthrow the violent Qin Kingdom. This is such a sacred and solemn task. You, on the other hand, obviously have the strength to fight against the Qin Kingdom's army, but you don't care. You just watch the Mo family's disciples being devoured by tigers and wolves. What's the difference between you and the evil spirit? Is that so? Then I should really admire your noble character. Dustless showed a smile of admiration. He then snorted and said, Abandoning your wife and daughter. Your thoughts are indeed not something an ordinary person like me can understand. You, hearing the words abandoning his wife and daughter, Yandan's passionate face suddenly froze. He lowered his head in shame, and was speechless. This was his biggest regret. Farewell, Boss Missouri family. Pulling out the Sky Cluster Cloud Sword, Wuchen took a step forward and left. After taking a few steps, he suddenly stopped and said indifferently, Perhaps I, who looked coldly at the death of others, am indeed an evil person. But in my eyes, a heartless person who abandons his wife and daughter doesn't even have the qualifications to be a human, let alone save the world. If you can't even protect your own wife, what confidence do you have to talk about saving the world? Yandan, it's time to wake up from this boring dream. Chapter 1813. Am I really wrong? Hearing Dustless's words, Yandan's mind was shaken. His body was heavily injured, and his life force was quickly draining away. In the end, he could not take it anymore, and knelt on the ground. No, I've said it before. Everyone's opinions are different, so you're not wrong. On the contrary, in the eyes of the Mo family, you're very noble. But then Wuchen changed the topic. After leaving a sentence, he turned around and left. You're not very lucky to have met me, whose views and thoughts are extreme and wrong. I've always hated people who abandon their wives and daughters, so I'll have to trouble you to go to hell. Hearing this, Yendan, the Mo family's great master, only had one thought about this: willful. This guy, he was too willful. Staring at Dustless, Yendan finally understood what kind of person Dustless was. He did everything as he pleased. Nothing could restrain him. Oh right. Dustless stopped again and glanced at the black weapon beside Yendan. A powerful gravitational force exploded from his palm. I think this thing is not bad. It'll be my toy from now on. After saying this, Dustless took ink eyebrows and disappeared. Dustless had taken away the weapon that belonged to the Mo family on a whim. Unknowingly, he had been influenced by Gilgamesh and had become fond of collecting rare treasures, even if they were useless to him. At this moment, in another direction, a large number of disciples of the Mo family had gathered in the spacious hall. There were more than 100 of them, but without exception, all of them were tied up in heavy chains, and all of them looked extremely dispirited. An indescribable sadness hung on everyone's faces. Congratulations, Lord Weizhuang. The traitors of the Mo family have all been captured. Apart from a few that escaped, most of them have been captured alive. The hunchbacked old man's tone carried a hint of complacency. Is that so? Hearing this, Weizhuang only coldly glanced at him, his face expressionless. The Mo family had been wiped out, and even his senior apprentice brother, Sword Saint Gunia, and a few of the higher-ups of the Mo family had been captured alive. However, Weizhuang was not as happy as he had expected. It was to the extent that there was even a hint of vitality in his eyes that were pulsing with hostility and ferocity. His entire body was filled with an austere aura. Lord Weizhuang, you. Seeing Weizhuang's strange state, the hunchbacked old man pulled a distance away from Weizhuang. The latter exploded with a bone-piercing killing intent, which made Gong Shuqiu shudder. Although his skill in mechanism techniques was amazing, his martial arts were not so good. Facing Weizhuang's killing intent, Gong Shuqiu's heart was trembling violently. It seemed that the distance was not far enough. Gong Shuqiu and Weizhuang were about 30 to 40 feet apart. Only then did Gong Shuqiu relax and catch his breath. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The demon sword Shark's Tooth, which was circulating with a cold light, was suddenly unsheathed. The tip of the sword was pointed at the middle-aged man with an indifferent expression. Weizhuang no longer concealed the flames on his body as he hoarsely said, "Senior brother, tell me where that fellow is." That fellow? Hearing this, Gunia frowned in confusion. He shook his head and said, "Little Zhuang, of course I know about the grudges between you and me. As for the conflicts between you and other people, I do not know anything about them." Humph. Trying to hide something only makes it more conspicuous. I heard that your relationship with that fellow is not bad. Weizhuang snorted and said coldly, "Where is that fellow called Dustless? He injured my subordinates one after another. If I do not teach that fellow a lesson, how can I, the owner of Lu Sha, show my face?" Dustless? Hearing this, Gunia suddenly understood. However, he still shook his head and said in a confused tone, "I do not know about that senior's movements. You have asked the wrong person." Senior? Weizhuang squinted his eyes and said mockingly, "You actually called him senior? I heard that Dustless is very young. He is not even 20 years old. You actually called him senior? You are a disgrace to the Phantom Valley. The world is big and full of strange things. The Phantom Valley is just one of the many sects in the world. There are countless strange people in the world. There are many people who are more powerful than you and me." Gunia replied calmly. Even though Weizhuang's shark teeth were pressed against his throat, his voice was still calm. "Is that so? You actually think so highly of him? To be honest, I am looking forward to meeting him even more." Weizhuang looked coldly at Gunia. Then he looked at Duan Murong and said, "I heard that you are very close to Dustless. If I kill you, that fellow will take the initiative to come and find me." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, a huge black fog swept over, followed by a disdainful voice. It sounded like a ghost behind Weizhuang, and there was no warning at all. "Brat, The next time you say something like this, please look behind you. Could it be him? Qi Lian's beautiful eyes froze as she stared at the evil black wind. When she saw the vague figure, she quickly shouted, Lord Wei Zhuang behind you. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The deadly blade swept out. Wei Zhuang suddenly turned around and slashed out with the shark teeth in his hand. You dare to be so impudent with such strength? Do you find it fun to bully little children? Now that the enemy has changed, I will let you have a taste of being trampled on. Seeing the blade descending from the sky, the black figure laughed coldly. Then, a ferocious force erupted from within his body. Shinra Tensei. Chapter 1814. Shinra Tensei. Invisible gas visible to the naked eye burst out of his body and came into close contact with the falling blade. Boom! Wei Zhuang's full blow fell on the seemingly weak air wave. He thought that it would be destroyed with a swing of his sword, but the touch from his hand made Wei Zhuang secretly shocked. What kind of defense is this? I can't break it. Wei Zhuang's tone carried a trace of disbelief and shock. His eyes were fixed on the point where the mysterious energy came into contact with the shark-tooth sword. Not to mention defeating it in one move. Even causing a ripple would be a fool's dream. Long hair, short insight. Hearing this, Dustless just responded with a simple sneer, and then whispered softly, Go back to where you came from. Boom boom boom. As his voice fell, the tyrannical repulsive force broke out more turbulent fluctuations, and Wei Zhuang, who was caught off guard, was bounced back. On the battlefield, the change between the prey and the hunter was often extremely fast. A little carelessness, or the opponent suddenly used some mysterious and powerful move, the hunter may become the prey. Right now Wu Chen was like this. Without those ninjutsu that could destroy the world, just a simple Shinra Tensei could send Wei Zhuang flying without any effort. Boom! On the thick wall, Wei Zhuang was awkwardly hanging upside down, and his head was dizzy. I was defeated so easily? Wei Zhuang's eyes were dull and empty, as if his soul had been taken away, and he became a walking corpse in name only. Then his old face began to tingle. Damn it! Thinking of his arrogant words before, Wei Zhuang only felt that Dustless was grabbing his cheeks and slapping him a few times with his old shoes that hadn't been cleaned for 100,000 years. Just now, Wei Zhuang was like a protagonist who solemnly announced that others were arranged by fate. But he was going to arrange his own fate. Damn guy, you dare to attack Master Wei Zhuang. Qi Lian's phoenix eyes were full of anger, and her hand flicked. When the thin and soft long sword at her waist was about to sweep out, the cold tone made her stop as if she had been electrocuted. The fact that you're still alive is entirely due to my great mercy. This kind of luck will not happen a second time, so please cherish it. Dustless's seemingly casual words contained great power. Qi Lian's small hand that was about to grab the soft long sword shuddered, and then stopped unexpectedly. Damn it, why am I afraid of this guy, damn it? Crimson Viper snapped out of his daze and cursed inwardly. Just as he was about to draw his sword again, he suddenly felt a pair of cold eyes that could suppress a human's soul staring at him. Raising his head, he saw that the owner of the pair of eyes that were as dark as the universe was Dustless. Step down, Crimson Viper. Wei Zhuang glared at Qi Lian. The cold glint in his eyes was clearly warning her not to interfere. Or rather, interfering would not change anything. So strong, so powerful. The Mo family is saved. The giant doesn't seem to be that strong. It would be great if he was the giant from our Mo clan. There's nothing wrong with that. The next time the giant is chosen, we'll just recommend him. Seeing Dustless injure Wei Zhuang with such shocking strength and his disdainful gaze, Qi Lian from the quicksand was even more terrified. She could not even muster the courage to resist. Such domineering strength filled everyone with fear. Idiots, I wonder what you'll think if you know that I've already killed the giant from your Mo clan. Dustless smiled in the face of the chaos around him. This was not their fault. Humans were such creatures. Once they encountered difficulties, they would crave the help of others around them. However, the price to ask for Dustless's help was very high. The Mo clan could not afford this price. Even if they really wanted him to be the giant, Dustless would refuse. Although the Mo clan was not bad, its doctrine of benefiting the world was not suitable for Dustless. A good chance. A sinister voice suddenly resounded from behind. Immediately, a mysterious winged human figure suddenly launched a fatal sneak attack in front of everyone's eyes. Cold gleaming claws had already reached for the back of Dustless's head. What a despicable fellow! Seeing this, the disciples of the Mo clan all cursed this person for being shameless. Not only did Lu Sha have the advantage in numbers, he even dared to launch a sneak attack. How shameless! Is it you? Dustless turned his head and revealed half an eye. Seeing the blood-red gaze, he immediately lost interest. Looks like you're ready to go to hell. Since that's the case, I'll take your life. Before you die, remember that the person who killed you is called Dustless. It'll be bad if you don't recognize me when you become a ghost and seek revenge on me. Light flickered in his hand as Dustless activated the glint fruit. His body disappeared in an instant. This speed again. Everyone's expression changed, including Wei Zhuang and Gunye. They could not even see Dustless's shadow. How were they supposed to fight like this? The battle had not even started, but they were already at an absolute disadvantage. Where is he? The secret bat who had launched a sneak attack on Dustless was shocked. The former had disappeared like a ghost. Go to hell. An indifferent voice descended from the sky. The secret bat's pupils shrank. Up there? How fast? Poochie. Before he could finish his sentence, the golden cold light split his body. The divine sword that could cut through metal like mud was unstoppable, and it cut the hidden bat in half in one fell swoop. What a terrifying guy. Everyone's expression changed. Even if the secret bat was not as powerful as Wei Zhuang and Gunye, Dustless had killed a powerful expert with one strike. He seemed to have gotten used to this kind of graceful and calm demeanor. Chapter 1815. What a cruel method. Seeing the hidden bat's body split in half, everyone's face turned pale as they stared at Dustless in fear. They couldn't help but distance themselves from him. In everyone's eyes, that calm gaze that could kill anyone did not seem to belong to a human being. How dare you? Seeing this, Wei Zhuang's face twitched as he stared at the hidden bat's body. Finally, his gaze landed on Dustless's body. His face turned red, and he wanted to find a hole to hide in. Although the hidden bat wasn't worth mentioning, Dustless had killed his subordinates in front of him. There was no doubt that he didn't put Wei Zhuang, the owner of quicksand, in his eyes at all. Swish, swish, swish. Wei Zhuang rushed over in anger. Swish, swish, swish. The veins on Wei Zhuang's right arm bulged as he stared at Dustless. He threw the shark tooth in his hand towards Dustless's throat in a straight line. Why did he throw the shark tooth? Everyone was puzzled and looked at Wei Zhuang in confusion. They couldn't figure out what Wei Zhuang was trying to do. However, Wei Zhuang and Qi Lian, who knew the inside story, narrowed their eyes. This move, could it be 100 Steps Flying Sword? Gunya's eyes widened as he shouted in disbelief, Senior, don't be careless. This is one of the Ghost Valley's secret techniques, 100 Steps Flying Sword. Ha ha ha, it's too late. Qi Lian giggled coquettishly as her charming eyes narrowed into crescents. 100 Steps Flying Sword? Everyone present revealed shocked expressions when they heard this. Everyone had naturally heard of the 100 Steps Flying Sword before, but this was Sword Saint Gunya's famed technique. How had Wei Zhuang managed to steal it? 100 Steps Flying Sword? Dustless's lips curled up as he stared at the fatal sword light that was about to pierce his throat. It's just SOSO. Dustless's eyes froze as he stared at the demon sword shark tooth. He didn't show any fear as he dashed forward. The ignorant are fearless. You're courting death. Seeing this, Wei Zhuang sneered. In his mind, he could already see the scene of Dustless's tragic death. Facing the sharp edge of the 100 Steps Flying Sword, not only did he not take a defensive posture, he even recklessly faced it head-on. His brain must have been flooded with water. Armament hockey hardening. Murmuring, Dustless's right arm instantly turned dark black. Then, under everyone's gaze, Dustless made another unexpected move. From an outsider's point of view, that right hand that was as thin as a willow branch directly grabbed the demon sword shark's tooth. This guy. Is he trying to catch the blade with his bare hands? Dustless's actions were no different from setting himself on fire, causing everyone to jump in fright. They all looked at this scene in shock. People who dared to face the 100 Steps flying sword head-on were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Now Dustless was even able to catch the blade with his bare hands, which refreshed everyone's understanding of him. How dare he do this? Could it be that Dustless, this kid, thinks that he is made of steel and iron, and can ignore the attack of the blade? Red Viper covered her cherry mouth and said to herself in shock. Without exception, everyone was shocked by Dustless's crazy actions. The scene of catching the blade with his bare hands was shocking enough. Now catching the 100 Steps flying sword with his bare hands touched everyone's heart. Bastard, does this kid look down on me so much? After Wei Zhuang's face twitched, he was furious and felt that he was being looked down upon. I promise that your hateful cheek will be torn apart and become a bloody hole. Is it? Your ambition is really big. Unfortunately, Dustless ignored everyone's shocked expression, and his right arm opened lightly, and his palm attacked the flying sword. There's no chance. Wu Chen's open palm suddenly clenched. Compared to just now, Wu Chen's fist had obviously swelled up a lot. Looking closely, there was an additional sharp sawtooth sword in his hand. Did he really catch it? Are you kidding me? That's the 100 Steps flying sword. Wei Zhuang must have gone easy on him. Look at Wei Zhuang's face, it's about to explode. It doesn't look like he went easy on him. So powerful. Even more powerful than Master Juzi. Witnessing Wu Chen shatter the world-renowned 100 Steps flying sword with a single hand, the disciples of the Mo family were in disbelief. Gunia and the others were also shocked. What are you angry about? Dustless looked at Wei Zhuang and heard the sound of his teeth grinding. He said indifferently, Wei Zhuang, with your strength, it's already not bad for a mere human to be able to do this. I don't need anyone to find excuses for failure, Wei Zhuang replied coldly. He did not appreciate it at all. On the surface, Wei Zhuang did not seem disappointed, but in reality his heart was bleeding. After this battle, his name would probably become a laughingstock in the Jianghu. All the members of Quicksand, and a large number of the Qin Kingdom's cavalry could not take down Dustless. He had already lost face to the world, and Dustless was bound to use his name as a stepping stone. What an eyesore! Dustless glanced at the demon sword shark's tooth in his hand, and his hand was panicked by the protruding barbs. I'll help you change the appearance of the shark's tooth, no need to thank me. Dustless smiled kindly, and his right hand gripped the shark's tooth with more force. Crack, crack, crack. The demon sword shark's tooth's blade made a cracking sound, and then countless fragments fell to the ground. The shark's tooth also let out a strange wail. How strong is this guy? He broke Wei Zhuang's sword. Chapter 1816. Crack, crack, crack. The steel fragments that belonged to the blade peeled off layer by layer, and the unique sorrowful cry of the demon sword shark tooth was heard clearly by everyone. I've long heard that Dustless's strength is amazing. Seeing it today, it's true. Old Man Ban and the others breathed heavily, their eyeballs about to fall out of their sockets. Crushing the demon sword shark tooth with his own strength was unparalleled in the world. Although the shark tooth was not in the sword manual, its power was comparable to the Abyss Rainbow, which was ranked second in the manual. But even if it could compete with Abyss Rainbow, so what? It was still crushed by Dustless like porcelain. Not only were the Mo family's people stunned, but even the Quicksand's people were dumbfounded. Is this guy even human? Wei Zhuang's face alternated between green and white. It was extremely interesting. Being able to catch a white blade with his bare hands was already inconceivable. Now Wu Chen had even caught the 100 Steps flying sword with his bare hands. Moreover, he had even relied on pure strength to crush a shark tooth. In the entire world, Wei Zhuang truly could not think of a second person who could do this. But Dustless did it all. He was ridiculously monstrous. This kid is too strange. His strength and ability don't seem like something a human can do. Lord Wei Zhuang, leave the rest to us. Gong Shuqiu's small eyes flashed with the light of revenge as he recommended himself to Wei Zhuang. Okay, kill this kid for me, Wei Zhuang ordered with a dark face. At the same time, Wei Zhuang gave Qi Lian, Bai Feng, and the others a meaningful look, as if to say that if they saw the situation go wrong, they should quickly retreat. Crack, crack, crack. The ground suddenly shook violently, and then countless cracks appeared. Boom, boom, boom. The ground shook more and more violently, and the entire mechanical city of the Mo family was affected by the violent tremors, giving the illusion that it could collapse at any time. What is this? A robot dog? Turning his head, he saw several steel monsters walking out of the dark corridor. They looked like dogs, but they weren't dogs. Their bodies were covered with sharp barbs. If he approached them rashly, he might be crushed to pieces. Dustless, be careful. This is the Gongshu family's overbearing mechanism technique, Kuta Saburo. The others were all laymen, but they were very familiar with Old Man Ban. This is Saburo Patu. Hearing this, Dustless's interest was immediately piqued. He stared at the mechanical monster with great interest. There were countless legends about Saburo Pa, and its power was even demonized by the people of the world. When the king of Qin, Yingzheng, was sweeping through the 6 states and conquering the world, when he encountered a fortress that was difficult to uproot, he completely relied on Patu Sanlang, who was provided by the Gongshu clan, to break through the fortress easily, making a great contribution to Yingzheng. Ayo 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 ayo. A hysterical roar came out of the golem's mouth. Then its 4 limbs suddenly exploded with a tyrannical force, and it charged forward at a crazy speed. Rub, rub, rub. Countless blades shot out from the mechanical monster's body. The thickness of the blades was comparable to a human's arm. As long as one came into contact with them, they would turn into hedgehogs. Is that all? Insignificant skill. With a contemptuous smile, Dustless's hand suddenly emitted a large number of flashes of light, and he immediately threw them out with all his strength. Yasakani no Magatama. The light bullets that filled the sky gushed out in torrents. Their numbers were so great that they were like grains of sand in a desert. All of them blasted onto the body of the mechanical monster. Its big mouth that was filled with fangs instantly let out a faintly discernible miserable cry. Clang, clang, clang. The mechanical beasts that surrounded them were all riddled with holes without exception. Hundreds of holes appeared on each of the mechanical beasts after being hit by the blazing light bullets. The figure controlling the mechanical beasts was also killed, and his body was like a sieve. How is this possible? Seeing this, Gong Shucho was suddenly dumbfounded. His eyes bulged outward, and blood vessels covered them. What's so surprising about you? You want to defeat me with a pile of scrap metal? Dustless glanced at Gong Shucho lightly and mocked loudly. You don't go too far. Gong Shucho's old face turned green. He glared at the young man, shocked and angry. After all, he was an important minister of the king of Qin, Yingzheng. Yingzheng treated him with respect, but a Jianghu sorcerer dared to look down on him again and again. So what if I bully you? Do you want me to be considerate of an old man? Although you are old and weak, your mechanical arts are very crafty. Dustless continued to attack Gong Shucho. The old man was so angry that his eyes were seeing stars, and his body was shaking, as if he could fall down at any time. Patu Saburo is not enough to deal with Dustless. I need more powerful mechanical beasts. Gong Shucho planned in his heart, and at the same time he turned to Wei Zhuang and the others and said, Master Wei Zhuang, you have to deal with him. Dustless is too. The words at the tip of his tongue stopped abruptly. Gong Shucho was speechless when he found that Wei Zhuang and the others behind him were playing the same trick as Dustless, disappearing into thin air. Where are they? Master Wei Zhuang. Gong Shucho shouted loudly, but there was no response. This idiot old man, doesn't he know that he has been abandoned? Pathetic. Dustless shook his head sympathetically. He looked at the depths of the corridor on the other side, where several figures were flickering. Gong Shucho, you idiot, haven't you noticed? Wei Zhuang and the others have already run away. Old Ban, who was born to be enemies with Gong Shucho, said sarcastically. When you ordered Patu Saburo to fight Dustless, Wei Zhuang felt that he had no chance of winning, so he ran away without a word. Chapter 1817. They ran away? Hearing this, Gong Shucho was petrified on the spot. His eyes glazed over as he watched the quicksand members disappear into the distance. Preposterous. Those guys actually dared to trick this old man. Did they forget that we're allies? His Majesty won't let these traitors go. After a while, Gong Shucho came back to his senses and cursed. He didn't expect Wei Zhuang to be so shameless as to abandon him and run for his life alone. They should have all left together. Wei Zhuang was too much of a bastard. Old man, you're not worth enough. It's only right that you were abandoned. Old Man Ban laughed loudly. At the same time, he winked at Dustless, obviously telling him to hurry up and untie him. These guys actually ordered me around. Seeing the situation, Dustless sighed lightly and walked over to help untie the few people. Thank you, Dustless. The Mo family owes you another big favor. Duan Murong, who was the first to be untied, bowed and thanked him. She couldn't help but feel a little conflicted. Dustless had saved the Mo family several times, but the Mo family couldn't repay him. Ahem, you're treating me like an outsider. After all, Miss Duanmu has helped me before. It's only right that I return the favor. Dustless coughed awkwardly. Duanmu Rong's thank you made him feel particularly embarrassed. Before he killed Yen Dan, the Mo family's leader, there was no harm in accepting it. But now that he had killed Yen Dan, he couldn't help but feel guilty. You two have no romantic feelings for each other. Hurry up and untie me. My old bones can't handle it. My body can't compare to you young people. Old Man Ban complained. Dustless and Duanmu Rong ignored everyone else. I'll help everyone right now. Wait a moment. Duanmu Rong's face flushed red at Old Man Ban's words. She glared at Dustless and hurriedly untied Snow Lady, Gao Jianli, and the others. This is a good opportunity. Hurry up and run. Seeing the Mo family ignoring him, Gong Shucho felt that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to escape. I say, old mister. You've destroyed the Mo family's mechanical city. Don't you need to stay and apologize before leaving? The moment Gong Shucho turned around, a figure was already standing behind him. Robber Ji. Gong Shucho's heart chilled. Seeing this shifty-eyed young man, he knew that his escape plan was going to be in vain. He could only grit his teeth and threaten. I am an important official of His Majesty the Emperor. If you dare to kill me, His Majesty the Emperor will not let the Mo family off. At that time, you will end up in an even more miserable state. Idiot! Dustless coldly snorted and casually sent out a flash of light to hit Gong Shucho. Poochie! A charred hole suddenly appeared in Gong Shucho's heart. He looked at Dustless unwillingly and finally fell to the ground. This guy. The Mo family members were confused. Of course, it was not because Dustless killed Gong Shucho. In their eyes, this old man deserved to die. After killing so many of the Mo family members, it would be too easy for Gong Shucho to die so easily. The only thing that puzzled them was that the laser beam was similar to true Qi, but it was the exact opposite. Mister, what sect are you from? Gunia could not suppress his curiosity and asked. Such a strange move is rarely seen in the world. Compared to it, the Phantom Valley's skills are not worth mentioning. The Mo family members were silent. If Gunia said this in the past, it would be considered flattery. However, after witnessing Dustless's miraculous strength, they felt that it was true. I don't belong to any sect. There is no need to care about such a small matter. Dustless waved his hand and did not say anything. Even if he told them about the glint fruit's ability, they would not be able to understand it. In that case, it was better to keep quiet. In short, the Mo family's mechanical city is no longer safe. Let's retreat for now. Old Ban pondered for a while and took out a brocade pouch. He opened it quickly and said, Mr. Zhang Liang ordered us to go to Shanghai. Lead the Mo family members and retreat quickly. Soon, I will activate the Azure Dragon to defeat the Qin army outside the city. Go to Shanghai. Are we going to abandon the Mo family's mechanical city? Big Iron Hammer was disappointed. His rough face was full of unwillingness. That is unavoidable. Gao Jinli nodded in agreement and said, the last stronghold of Mo clan has been breached. Although Gong Shucho is dead now, and there will be no one to helping Zheng build mechanical beasts in the future, It is no longer suitable for us to continue to stay in Mo Clan's mechanical city. In this unprecedented calamity, most of Mo Clan's mechanical city has been damaged. Thanks to Gong Xiuqiu and Lu Sha, Mo Clan's mechanical city has become a dead city. We have to leave. That's right. Staying here is tantamount to waiting for death. Let's leave quickly. Dustless nodded in agreement. He came to this world for two purposes. One was to find the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon, which he already had a clue about. The other was to find the legendary Yellowstone Heavenly Scroll. Dustless still remembered that the Yellowstone Heavenly Scroll was in the hands of Chu Nangong. Later, when he went to Shanghai, Chu Nangong taught it to Tianming. Since staying in the Mo family's mechanical city was fruitless, he could only agree to go to Shanghai. By the way, where is Lord Jizzy? Xue Nu, who had been silent, suddenly asked. Lord Jizzy is stronger than us. Has he escaped? Well. Hearing this, Dustless's face flashed with an unnatural look. Where did Jizzy go? Of course he was killed by him. To tell you the truth, Jizzy Yandan of the Mo family has been killed by Qin soldiers. Chapter 1818. Jizzy was killed by the soldiers of the Qin kingdom? Dustless did not have the slightest reason and decisively put all the blame on the Qin kingdom. Everyone knew about the grudge between the Mo family and the Qin kingdom. He was a God-given scapegoat. Master Jizzy is dead? Hearing this, the cheeks of the Mo family members were as if struck by lightning. They were in a daze, including Duan Murong. Everyone stood still and did not move. That's impossible. Jizzy's divine power is unparalleled. How could he be killed by the soldiers of the Qin kingdom? After a short silence, Gao Jianli, who recovered first, denied it loudly. That's right. I gave Jizzy the 100-herb pill. Logically speaking, he should not be affected by the dove feather thousand night. Duan Murong wrinkled her nose and questioned. Everyone's gazes looked towards Dustless without prior agreement. Unparalleled divine power? No one can escape the cycle of life and death. It's just a matter of time. In the face of everyone's doubts, Dustless was already prepared. He calmly replied. There is no doubt that the 100-herb pill is amazing. However, it is not omnipotent. For example, if Jizzy was poisoned and took the 100-herb pill, what would happen? Hearing this, everyone was silent. Duan Murong's delicate face attracted everyone's attention in an instant. In this way, the effect will be greatly reduced. Duan Murong was silent for a moment before answering truthfully. Commanders, something bad has happened. At this moment, a small group of Mo family disciples suddenly ran in and shouted, Jizzy is in the corridor in front. I don't know who killed him. At the same time, in another direction, I've finally crawled out of this damned cage. Staring at the long-awaited light, Tianming, Xiaoyu and you all smiled with joy. It was exactly the same as the original story. Tianming obtained the supreme weapon of the Mo family, non-offensive. Xiaoyu obtained the formation-breaking Overlord Spear. As for Yu, she obtained the phantasmal sound treasure box. Yes, you're finally out. I've been waiting impatiently. An ethereal voice suddenly sounded. Who is it? Tianming and the other two were stunned. They turned their heads and saw a woman who was dressed very strangely. First, let me introduce myself. You can call me the Moon Goddess. Her indifferent tone was the same as before, unchanging from beginning to end. Who is the Moon Goddess? Is she a friend of the Mo family? Tianming frowned. He felt that this woman was familiar, but he couldn't remember who she was. Idiot, run 7. Xiaoyu rolled her eyes at Tianming and hurriedly dragged the two of them away. I've never seen the Moon God before, but she has a famous title. She's one of the 2 grand preceptors of the state of Qin. With your level, how could you possibly catch up to him? In the dark, a pair of deep eyes were quietly observing everything. Its appearance was the same as Dustless's, but it wasn't disrespectful. It was just an ordinary invisible doppelganger. Remember, don't hurt you or else. Dustless snorted with a hint of warning before he disappeared into the darkness. Of course. The Moon Goddess's calm face rippled. And then she bowed slightly and nodded. Who the hell is this guy? Not only is he strong, but even this concealment technique is perfect. After a while, the moon goddess talked to herself. How Dustless appeared and how he disappeared, she didn't even feel it. At least the moon goddess knows what's good for her. Dustless's body calmed down after hearing the news. There was no harm in temporarily sending you, to the Inyang school. Anyway, the moon goddess had promised Dustless, and Dustless also left the flying thunder god warlock on you, if there was an uncontrollable situation, he could still save her. In addition, you could also learn the Inyang school's Inyang technique, which was not a loss. Although for Dustless, the abilities of the Inyang school were nothing, for you, who was an ordinary human, it was a great tonic. Disaster and blessing were interdependent. After eliminating the disaster, all that was left was good. Speaking of which, who the hell is that Zhang Liang? In a room in the mechanical city, Duan Murong was preparing a large number of herbs. In the previous battle, many disciples of the Mahists were infected by the poisonous gas. Although they were temporarily alive, many were still in a coma. Mr. Zhang Liang? Hearing this, Duan Murong showed a look of admiration and praised. Mr. Zhang Liang's foresight is godly. He can help the Mahists out of danger every time. This time, Duan Murong fell silent and then sighed. The only person who could avoid the attack of the Dove Feather Thousand Knight is Mr. Zhang Liang. Even the Taoist Xiao Zi couldn't escape. That guy is just SOSO. Seeing Duan Murong's look of admiration, Dustless was extremely unhappy. How could Zhang Liang escape this disaster? It was because this guy was in cahoots with Wei Zhuang. Maybe Wei Zhuang had already informed Zhang Liang in advance, when attacking the mechanical city. I can smell a strong sour smell. At this moment, the Snow Lady teased. Sour? Are you saying that I'm jealous of Zhang Liang? Dustless smiled and didn't say anything. Although Zhang Liang was indeed a rare genius, he had lived for hundreds of years. Was there a need to be jealous of Zhang Liang? There was no need at all. The only thing that made Dustless lament was that the Mahists might have been betrayed by Zhang Liang and helped him count the money. Chapter 1819. After all, Wuchen was an old monster who had lived for hundreds of years. He had long become indifferent to the reputation of the secular world, let alone jealousy. As long as Wuchen wanted to, he could pull down the current emperor Yingzheng from the throne. In short, I think that guy is very suspicious. It's best to be on guard against him. After thinking it over, Dustless gave a friendly reminder. Mr. Dustless has a point. At that moment, an unexpected figure stepped forward. Although I suspect that Mr. Zhang Liang has wronged him, this old man has to remind everyone that Zhang Liang's family has been the Prime Minister of Korea for 5 generations. I'm sure everyone is aware of Wei Zhuang's situation. Both of them are Korean nobles, and they do have an unclear relationship. The person who stepped forward to speak for Dustless was Old Ban. Of course, just based on this, we can't doubt Mr. Zhang Liang. He wants us to go to Shanghai to defend the Mo family. What this old man means is to tell everyone that there's nothing wrong with being careful. This old man has been talking nonsense for a long time, but he hasn't said anything useful. Dustless couldn't help but shake his head. He had heard countless rumors about Zhang Liang in his previous life, but it didn't matter. His goal was to obtain the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon and the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. He had no conflict of interest with Zhang Liang, so naturally, they wouldn't become enemies. That was the most important thing. Speaking of which, this old man has a favor to ask of Mr. Dustless. Old Ban suddenly cupped his fist and looked at Dustless, his eyes shining as if he had seen a lover. His fervent gaze made Dustless shudder, and he couldn't help but have goosebumps all over his body. Cough, cough, cough. Old man, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't look at me like that. Dustless pinched his arm, his face cold. If he didn't agree to Old Ban's request, this old man wouldn't let him go. Mr. Dustless, didn't you say that you don't belong to any sect or party? Old Ban suddenly asked. That's right. I'm just a wanderer. The disputes of the Jianghu have nothing to do with me. Dustless nodded. If that's the case, why don't? At this point, Old Ban's gaze on Dustless became even more fervent. After our discussion, we hope that Mr. Dustless can join the Mo family to deal with the Qin. We are willing to honor Mr. Dustless as the new great son. Ha! Hearing this, he was stunned for a moment before he quickly shook his head and said, "That's impossible. Once I join a noble family, it's as deep as the ocean. I once swore an oath that I would never join any sect in my life. Please understand." Without even thinking about it, Dustless straightforwardly rejected. If the Mo family was really an unprecedented sect, then so be it. He wouldn't mind joining them to help them do evil and bring disaster to the world. But in the end, the Mo family's original purpose was to save the world, and Dustless didn't have the leisure to be refined, so it was better to forget about it. Is that so? What a pity. The Snow Lady and the others' eyes dimmed. It wasn't hard to see that they had all decided to make Dustless the new prodigy. Actually, I have a better candidate than me. With a strange smile, Dustless said, "I think Tianming is a good candidate. Although that kid is a bit slow, he passed the Mo family's mechanical city and obtained the Mo family's supreme weapon, the non-offensive. Not only that, I remember that your prodigy seems to like him a lot." Hearing this, the Mo family's higher-ups looked at Dustless speechlessly. Even if you don't like the Mo family, there's no need to elect a kid to trick us. Especially a kid who doesn't have enough brains. If he's as smart as you are, then it's fine. Although the Mo family's mechanical city is where the prodigies are tested, Tianming passed it and obtained the non-offensive. Also, the prodigy used to think highly of him, so he can give it a try. Gao Jianli suddenly interrupted. Besides, other than him, there's no one more suitable to be the prodigy. Tianming was the child of his elder brother, Jingke. No matter what, Gao Jianli had to support him. I also think that Tianming is a good candidate. He passed the Mo family's mechanical city, obtained the non-offensive, and gained the prodigy's approval. Do you all think that it's all due to luck? The Snow Lady chimed in. I agree too, Roberji replied while rubbing his chin. This. Hearing this, Master Ban was speechless. Master Su behind him was the same. Both of them looked at Duan Murong at the same time. If she agreed, Tianming would definitely become the new prodigy. I believe in Dustless. After a while, an inexplicable answer came out of Duan Murongtan's mouth. She said softly, I don't think that Wu Chen would harm the Mo family. After all, everyone has seen that he has saved the Mo family time and time again. Not to mention the great kindness from before, just the problem of Wei Zhuang this time. If it wasn't for Wu Chen, everyone might have already met in the netherworld. Hearing this, Master Ban and Master Su didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They looked at Dustless gloomily. Their resentful eyes were obviously saying, Why are you so shameless? However, they had to admit that if it weren't for Dustless, the Mo family would have been finished. Then let's give it a try for the time being. Master Ban and Master Su looked at each other and nodded in agreement. In fact, they had another idea. This way, they could get closer to Dustless and the Mo family. After all, the prodigy was chosen by Dustless. If the Mo family was in trouble in the future, they couldn't just stand by and do nothing. These people. Wu Chen's eyes widened when he saw this. He was quite depressed. He recommended Tianming to be the magnate only because he remembered that the magnate in the original work was Tianming. Then, he had an idea and spoke without thinking. To put it bluntly, it was just nonsense. However, this group of people had agreed, and unanimously. Chapter 1820. All members of the Mahis family had agreed that he had to take on the role of Tianming's imposter. There was no choice in this matter. He had to do it even if he didn't want to. However, when Yuer was taken away by the Yinyang school, Duan Murong couldn't take the blow and fainted. Fortunately, Dustless's medical skills were extraordinary. After much effort, she was revived. Miss Duanmu, since the Yinyang school took Yuer away and didn't kill her, they won't hurt her. You don't have to worry too much. In the carriage, Dustless looked at Duan Murong guiltily. After all, he had allowed the moon god to take Yuer away. Where are we going? In the spacious carriage, Duan Murong was lying down peacefully. She could feel the bumpiness of the journey. Duan Murong's beautiful face was somewhat pale, looking extremely haggard. Saying hi. Dustless replied. You've been unconscious for a day and a night. The Qin army patrolling Mechanical City was defeated by Old Ban's Azure Dragon. Is that so? Duan Murong nodded and tried to get up. Unexpectedly, she had just recovered from a serious illness and her strength hadn't recovered yet. Unexpectedly, she fell into Dustless's arms. That I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Duan Murong was embarrassed and scolded herself for being careless. She fell into Dustless's warm arms and subconsciously hugged Dustless's waist. Then her body and mind trembled as a strange electric current flashed through. Duan Murong felt as if all her strength had been sucked out. Her warm chest was very comfortable, and she couldn't pull away from this vortex. Don't worry. Looking at Duan Murong, who was close by, Dustless pursed his lips and smiled. He patted her shoulder and said, Yor was taken away by the Yinyang School's moon god. I have an unshirkable responsibility. In the future I will bring her back safe and sound. Duan Murong gently nodded her head. Originally, she wanted to withdraw from Dustless's embrace, but unexpectedly, Dustless's palm landed on her shoulder, making it difficult for her to struggle. With a red face, she lay on her side in Dustless's embrace. Duan Murong lifted her gaze slightly and asked through the veil, Where are the giant, Tianming and Master Ban? I don't seem to see them. You're sick, so it's not suitable for us to speed up. I'll let Master Ban and the others go first. Duan Murong nodded. She was in a good mood and revealed a rare cheerful smile. She was lying in Dustless's arms at this moment. If she was caught, she would be embarrassed. But, at this point, Dustless's expression became strange, and his tone was extremely uncooperative. Sister Rong, I heard you talking to Dustless. Is it? A crisp and pleasant voice came from outside. Duan Murong was shocked. Just as she was about to struggle out of Dustless's embrace, it was already too late. A pair of watery eyes were staring blankly at Duan Murong, who was lying in Dustless's arms. Ahem, I didn't do it on purpose. Snow Girl hurriedly retracted her head with a red face and an extremely awkward expression. She then left the carriage. Didn't you say it was just the two of us? Duan Murong glared at Dustless unkindly. She felt that he was deliberately playing with her. Of course it's just the two of us, but there's also a person driving the carriage. Dustless could not help but laugh. He shrugged his shoulders with an expression that said it had nothing to do with him. You're twisting words and forcing logic. Duan Murong only rolled her eyes when she heard that. After she heaved a sigh of relief, she felt relieved. Time flew by, and the night was silent. Duan Murong lay in Dustless's embrace and passed the night with a satisfied expression. When she woke up the next day, it was already late in the morning. Dustless was not a monk with a beauty in his arms. It was inevitable that he would do some inappropriate things during this period. He lovingly played with Duan Murong's jade-like hands. Duan Murong resisted at first, but seeing that her resistance was futile, she let it go in the end. Humans were creatures that liked to push their luck. Seeing that Duan Murong did not resist, Dustless became more and more impudent. However, in the end he did not break through Duan Murong's last line of defense. Furthermore, Snow Girl was still outside. Naturally, Duan Murong would not stand idly by and watch Dustless do whatever he wanted. Those people from the Mo family went to Shanghai? In Quicksand's stronghold, Wei Zhuang gloomily wiped his mouth as he stared at Red Viper. Recently he had been in a very bad mood. After failing to attack the Mo family's Mechanical City, he parted ways with the Qin Kingdom. Even the cunning Li Si of the Prime Minister State had sent the Great Qin Kingdom's cavalry to encircle Quicksand. During this period of time, Wei Zhuang was fortunate enough to experience life as a fugitive. Wei Zhuang's Quicksand had suffered heavy losses. Not only were a few important subordinates killed by Dustless, but Li Si's betrayal had also dealt a heavy blow to Quicksand. Once they are of no use, they will turn their swords against each other. This is indeed the style of the Qin Kingdom. On a mountain peak, Wei Zhuang looked down at the hundreds of corpses below. Without exception, they were all from the Qin Kingdom's cavalry. They were all killed by Wei Zhuang, Red Viper and Bai Feng. The glorious Quicksand of the past had passed. Now, Quicksand had become a stray dog. Only Red Viper was left. by Feng, Black Qilin, and the others who were rescued by Wei Zhuang. As for the others, they were either killed by Dustless or the Qin Kingdom's cavalry. Everyone from the Mo family, including Dustless, listened to the arrangements of the Zifang Zhongliang. Now they are probably in Shanghai. In fact, it is not only the Mo family. Most of the forces in the anti-Qin alliance have gathered in Shanghai City. The Taoist Xiaoyaozi and the Yinyang school are the same. Qi Lian introduced in detail. In addition, there is also an important person. Chapter 1821. Big Shot. Hearing this, Wei Zhuang's calm eyes flashed with strong anticipation. A big shot worthy of being addressed by you. Wouldn't it be someone with a high position in the empire, Li Si? Him. Qi Lian just curled his lips disapprovingly. Although he has a high position in the end, Li Si is just someone's lackey. You mean? Wei Zhuang's eyes narrowed and he smiled meaningfully. You're right. Even if Li Si has a high position, he is just a lackey of Ying Zheng. And the one coming to Shanghai this time is Ying Zheng? That's not it. Qi Lian shook his head and said. But it's not that far off. The one replacing Ying Zheng this time is his son, young Master Fu Su. No wonder you said it's a big shot. Wei Zhuang was relieved. Compared to Li Si, young Master Fu Su was indeed a heavyweight. Shanghai can't lose Lu Shao's traces. Shanghai City and Inn. I don't need you to help me. Dustless, Duan Murong, and Xue Nu finally arrived at Shanghai City. When Duan Murong was about to help Xue Nu and Xue Nu get off the carriage, the two girls rolled their eyes at each other. One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. The two girls naturally understood such a simple logic. Especially Duan Murong's eyes were the most bitter, completely different from her usual aloof self. Last night, she slept very soundly and was taken advantage of by Dustless. Duan Murong couldn't flare up about this. If Xue Nu knew, where would she put her face? Therefore, she had a cold war with Dustless most of the time, and even ignored him sometimes. Speaking of which, is it really appropriate for you to do this? Although she put on an icy face, Duan Murong still cared about Dustless, second only to you. In some aspects, she had even surpassed you. Are you talking about my arrest warrant? Dustless pointed at the arrest warrants hanging on a sign in the distance and laughed disdainfully. All the land under the heavens belongs to the king. All the people on the shores of the land belong to the king? That's a fallacy. The world is so big. Ying Zheng's laws can't control me. His eyes were full of light, and his arrogant tone was full of great confidence. Duan Murong knew that Dustless wasn't joking. He did have the strength to not be afraid of King of Qin Ying Zheng. In the Battle of Mechanical City, defeating heroes from all walks of life, Dustless could be said to have been in the limelight. Go away. At this moment, the street in front of them was suddenly filled with angry shouts. Turning his head, he saw a group of Great Qin's cavalrymen heading towards them. They were carrying a strangely shaped prided child. They were squarish in shape and were only covered by a veil. Wu Qin could even see the person within. That's Zhao 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 Yu's eyes narrowed. Zhao Zhao of Zhao Zhao of Zhao Zhao of Su Yang 6 who, S Zhao. TSS, why are you still standing there? Seeing that Dustless was looking at the people in the net with interest, Duan Murong and the Snow Lady quickly pulled him over and hid in the inn like the wind. Idiot, that's a group of people. They're not easy to deal with, the Snow Lady warned. The Snow Lady still had not recovered from her shock. She felt a fatal pressure from those people just now. As if she had met her natural enemy. She felt uneasy all over. I know they're not good people, but there's no need to be so afraid. Wu Qin smiled bitterly. Then, he looked at the crowd that had not yet dispersed through the crack of the door. He could not help but scold. Zhao Gao is just a eunuch. He actually likes to stand out so much. It's unreasonable. Duan Murong and the Snow Lady were petrified. If Zhao Gao heard this, the consequences would be no less than the sky falling down. Those swordsmen are Zhao Gao's lackeys. They're called the 6 sword slaves. When the 6 of them work together, they're extremely powerful. It's easy to be severely injured by them. They looked over and saw that it was Gunia and the other members of the Mo family. This inn was called Vacancy Inn, and it was the Mo family's secret base in Mulberry Sea City. The person who had spoken was Gunia. Those swordsmen are so powerful. The members of the Mo family looked at each other. They didn't expect the ordinary-looking 6 sword slaves to be so terrifying. That's the truth. Dustless nodded in agreement with Gunia's words. He said, "They're all powerful swordsmen, and they've been trained by the net. Their close cooperation is enough to severely injure a first-rate fighter. No wonder I felt an indescribable pressure from them. It seems like it wasn't an illusion," the Snow Lady said as she patted her chest in fear. Gao Jianli stared at Snow Maiden, who stood beside Wu Chen. For some reason, he felt rather uncomfortable. Even though he did not want to think in a negative direction, and even wanted to cast it out of his mind, some things that he did not want to think about were just too difficult to forget. Moreover, he could not help but think in the wrong direction. Hey, I'm the Mo family's big son now. Hurry up and greet me." Dustless suddenly felt someone pat his shoulder. He turned around and saw Tianming, who was smiling so brightly that his eyes were like crescent moons. This little brat. Dustless was speechless when he saw Tianming's smug expression. Just as he was about to teach him a lesson, something strange happened. Chapter 1822. This was the taste of the ancient people. The so-called palanquin was too monotonous. It was only covered by a layer of gauze, without the slightest bright spot. Moreover, people with good eyesight could see who the people in it were. Dustless stared at the palanquin behind Zhao Gao. The people in it were looming. They were very different from Zhao Gao. In Dustless's heart, they were far more important than Zhao Gao. To put it bluntly, Zhao Gao was just an ambitious wolf dog. There was no need to care about him. The next people were the most important special existences related to Dustless's plan. They even had a great relationship with you. This woman. His eyes fell on the head of the mysterious woman in the palanquin. Dustless's eyes changed, quietly turning into scarlet Sharingan. After seeing the person clearly, his pupils suddenly shrank, and he almost instantly understood her identity. Is this concubine Yen of Yinyang School? Dustless recognized the identity of this person at a glance. He still remembered concubine Yen of Yinyang School. This person was the crown prince of Yen, the wife of Yen Dan, and also Yuer's biological mother. What kind of important person is this? It's incredible to have such a large number of Qin soldiers. Could it be that the king of Qin, Ing Zheng, came to Shanghai in person? Old Man Ban was surprised and puzzled. He thought that Zhao Gao was a big shot, but compared with the Qin soldiers behind him, he was not worth mentioning. Indeed. Old Man Ban's words also attracted everyone's attention. They all looked at the street outside the door through the paper-covered windows. As for Dustless, his eyes were fixed on concubine Yen. She seems to be restricted. Dustless narrowed his eyes and quietly stared at concubine Yen, forever fixed on her. After a while, his doubts turned into certainty. He looked at the palanquin where concubine Yen was sitting. There was a mysterious force flowing, and he could clearly capture the faint flow of ice aura. It was so mysterious that it was difficult for ordinary people to see it with the naked eye. If I remember correctly, concubine Yan's position in the school of Yinyang is unparalleled. Between the two great guardians and the Eastern Emperor Tai, her position is even higher than the moon goddess. Dustless thought back to the woman called concubine Yan. Legend had it that she was the person the moon god feared the most, and even hated the most. Yuer's extraordinary yin-yang technique was also passed down from concubine Yan. However, Dustless only glanced at concubine Yan a few times before he left. He was sure that there were other big shots from the school of Yinyang. Concubine Yan's strength is not weaker than the moon goddess. Someone who can restrain her. As he thought of this, Dustless's gaze pierced through the limpid autumn waters. He looked directly at the back of the queue and even discovered the two important figures, Yueshin and Xinghan. However, Dustless's gaze swept past them and landed on the head of the mysterious newcomer at the end. He was dressed in an airtight black robe and wore a gloomy mask on his face. He exuded a unique aura that transcended the world. Even though this mysterious newcomer was just sitting with his legs crossed and did not move at all, he still gave off a very special feeling. His unbelievably calm demeanor was as confident as if he was in control of the future. No wonder concubine Yin is so obedient. It turns out that Dong Huangtai is here. The confusion in his eyes was relieved. The only person who dared to say that he had absolute confidence in suppressing concubine Yin was probably the supreme and mysterious boss of the school of Yinyang, Dong Huangtai, who was regarded as a god by the school of Yinyang. If I remember correctly, the school of Yinyang also broke away from the school of Taoism, right? Dustless looked at Master Ban, Gao Jianli and the others. Hearing this, a complicated look flashed across Master Ban's eyes. He sighed and said, 500 years ago, the school of Yinyang broke away from the school of Taoism. After generations of heroes, their strength has long surpassed that of the school of Taoism. Now even if the human sect and heaven sect of the school of Taoism work together, they may not be a match for the school of Yinyang. This bunch of guys. Dustless curled his lips and complained with dissatisfaction. I remember that Taoism focuses on a clear mind and few desires. These guys from the school of Yinyang love to be in the limelight. They might as well join a famous school. You have a point. The people of the school of Mo smiled and said. They knew a lot about famous schools. The representative and heir of the famous school was the famous big mouth Gongsun Linglong. It seems that they are going to the port. Gunya frowned and said. Since he had arrived at Sanghe before Dustless, he naturally knew more about the inside story than Dustless. He said with certainty, maybe they are going to the Mirage. The Mirage? Dustless nodded slightly. Only the Mirage was worthy of the school of Yinyang's full strength. At the same time, a somewhat sage-like figure suddenly appeared in Dustless's mind. Yin Zhongjuan. A bright and deep light shot out of Dustless's eyes. He muttered to himself, I should find a chance to get in touch with him. He should give me the elixir of immortality. Although Dustless himself was immortal, he had more and more female confidants now. His lifespan was also a big problem. Naturally, he had to ask Yin Zhongjuan to help him. It is necessary to sneak into the Mirage at least once. After glancing at the beautiful woman behind the gauze curtain, Dustless finally withdrew his gaze. Although concubine Yin did not know her, she was still Yuer's birth mother. How could he leave her in the lurch? The second problem was Yin Zhongjuan. It would be best if he could refine the elixir of immortality. If he could not, he could just kill him. Everyone. At this moment, a gentle voice sounded. It had an indescribable charm, and instantly attracted the attention of all the people of the school of Mo. Dustless was the same. He turned around and saw the third leader of the school of Yinyang. He was one of the 3 heroes of Qilu Zhangliang. Chapter 1823. Zhang Liang was dressed in a simple silk robe, and had a gentle temperament. The first impression he gave was that he was a polite person. His delicate features and modest image made people involuntarily let down their guard. His friendly face was filled with an indescribable charm that made people involuntarily relax. If a person let down his guard, he would definitely be full of flaws. As for Zhang Liang, he was an extremely meticulous person. Even the slightest loophole or the slightest clue could not escape his clear eyes. This guy. There is a reason why he can succeed in the future. Dustless gave him an admiring look and immediately cupped his fists. This was the handshake of future generations. It was just a basic benefit. Everyone. Zhang Liang nodded when he saw the situation. Immediately he faintly glanced at Dustless. When he saw his leisurely appearance, he could not help but frown and muttered in his heart. This lazy appearance, he doesn't look like a wanted criminal at all. Zhang Liang then shook his head. It was undeniable that with Wu Chen's unfathomable strength, even if he was discovered by the Qin Kingdom soldiers on the street, he could still retreat safely, and even defeat the Qin Kingdom's army. This time, I have an important matter to discuss with everyone. Zhang Liang restrained his complicated emotions and said in a clear voice. In the past few days, the Qin army has greatly increased the number of soldiers in Shanghai. It is several times more than before. Everyone has seen it just now. Dustless and the people from the Mo family nodded slightly. Naturally, they had also noticed it. Not to mention the previous Qin army, there were hundreds or even thousands of Qin soldiers who had escorted the people from the Yinyang school to the Mirage. There are so many people from the Mo family and the Xiang family from the Chu state. It is only a matter of time before the Qin army discovers them. Moreover, don't forget that it is not only the people from the Yinyang school who came with us this time. Zhao Gao also brought a trap. Everyone must have seen it before. That makes sense. Dustless touched his chin and agreed with Zhang Liang's view. Then he smiled cunningly and said, I have a good plan that can temporarily hide from the eyes and ears of the Qin state. Let's see. Everyone's gazes looked towards Dustless without prior agreement, looking rather expectant. What is this guy trying to do? Seeing this, Zhang Liang's heart skipped a beat. Looking at Dustless's sly smile, his expression changed slightly. He felt that the sly smile was directed at him. As for the Mo family's stronghold in Mulberry Sea City, you only need to leave a few people behind to be in charge of communication. As for the other members of the Mo family, I suggest that they hide in the wilderness for the time being to recuperate. As for me, Tianming and Xiaoyu. At this point, Dustless's cunning smile deepened. The three of us will become Confucian disciples and study together. Ha! Everyone was dumbfounded by Dustless's plan. The first retreat deep into the mountains to recuperate was still acceptable, but the next part of sneaking into the Confucian school was rather impressive. The second condition. I'm sorry, but I can't accept it. After a moment of silence, Zhang Liang shook his head and refused. Everyone, although my heart is with the school of Mo, I think everyone should know that within the Confucian school, it is not my words that carry weight. The one who makes the decisions is eldest senior brother Fu Nian. Could it be that Mr. Zhang Liang thinks it is inappropriate? Dustless asked indifferently. We are all members of the Anti-Qin Alliance, so there is no need to draw such a clear line. Our ideals are the same. The three of us are wanted criminals of the empire, so we can sneak into the Confucian school without anyone noticing. That makes sense. Old Ban and the others suddenly understood. As the saying went, the most dangerous place was often the safest place. Dustless was doing the opposite, operating under the eyes of the enemy. Could it be that I had a bad premonition just now? The reason is really this guy. Zhang Liang's forehead was covered in faint sweat. If it were Tianming and Xiaoyu, he could reluctantly accept it. Although these two brats were talented and intelligent, they were still children in the end. If it were just them entering the Mo family, Zhang Liang wouldn't be worried. But the problem lay with Dustless. This guy's origins were unknown, his goals were unknown, and his strength was unfathomable. Who knew what crazy things he would do? If Dustless took the initiative to tell Qin Bing that he was a disciple of the Confucian school, then the entire school would be in trouble. As members of the Anti-Qin Alliance, Mr. Zhang Liang wouldn't refuse us, would he? Dustless chuckled and continued. I heard that Mr. Zhang and Wei Zhuang are very close. Dustless deliberately lowered his voice, but Dustless could hear the meaning behind his words. If Zhang Liang allowed Dustless and the others to enter the Confucian school, he would naturally be cleared of suspicion of colluding with Wei Zhuang. But if he refused, humans were emotional, and when faced with setbacks, it was inevitable that they would let their imagination run wild. This guy. What is he planning to do by entering the Confucian school? Zhang Liang was slightly nervous. He naturally knew the viciousness of Dustless's move. If he refused, then the relationship between the Mo family and Zhang Liang might be broken. It seems that I can only agree for now. Helplessly, Zhang Liang could only agree to Dustless. He couldn't afford to lose the Mo family, let alone go their separate ways. If the Mo family was gone, who would he rely on in the Anti-Qin Alliance? To Zhang Liang, the Mo family was a chess piece. Not only the Mo family, but also Wei Zhuang. Zhang Liang didn't want to lose either side. They were all suitable chess pieces to deal with the Qin state, and could help him fulfill his ambition of reviving his country. Especially now, even if he knew that it might be a trap, he still had to jump in. That's good. I also want to find out if Yandan's death has anything to do with this guy. With a wise light in his eyes, Zhang Liang nodded and said, "In that case, the three of you will follow me into the Confucian school." Chapter 1824. Phew. Thank you, Mr. Zhang Liang. We will definitely repay the kindness of the Confucian school in the future. Seeing this, Old Man Ban and the others were overjoyed and bowed to Zhang Liang to express their gratitude. If the Confucians were willing to let Tianming enter the Sage Manor, they would definitely be able to get closer to each other, and their alliance would become even stronger. "You, the Great Qin Empire, is our enemy, so there's no need to thank me," Zhang Liang said with a fake smile. However, Zhang Liang wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He wanted to say that he had been forced to agree to Dustless's conditions. If he refused Dustless's conditions, it would cause unnecessary trouble. If he couldn't even meet this basic condition, how could they still be considered allies? If this kind of small matter was not handled properly, the relationship between the allies could be broken. It was even possible for them to part ways and become strangers in the future. "Thank you, Mr. Zhang Liang." Seeing Zhang Liang's hidden bitter-gourd face, Dustless felt great in his heart. Mr. Dustless must be joking. If anything bad happens to the Confucian school, we will need your help. Zhang Liang's expression was well hidden, and it was impossible to see any emotional fluctuations. Of course. Don't worry, Mr. Zhang Liang. If it is within my power, I will not refuse, Dustless said with a perfunctory smile. In truth, there was only one reason why he had gone through so much trouble to sneak into the Confucian school. Chu Nangong. In his mind, he would suddenly think of an old man who was over 70 years old. On the surface, this person had a benevolent countenance and was very kind. He had the appearance of a good old man, but in fact he was very shrewd and extremely eccentric. Dustless had come to this world for another important thing in Chu Nangong's hands, the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. And it was during this period of time that Chu Nangong, Li Si, and Fu Su had paid a visit to the Confucian school. Normally, this old fellow was extremely elusive, so it was rather troublesome to find him in the vast Mulberry Sea city. Thus, Dustless chose to sneak into the Confucian school early and wait for Chu Nangong to come to him. This was the best opportunity to seize the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Sage Manor. In the Sangxi region, the Sage Manor's scenery was definitely one of the best. The Confucian school emphasized enjoyment. The mountains were limpid and the water was clear. There were pavilions everywhere. Creak. The back door was suddenly pushed open, and several figures entered one after another. Without exception, all of them were wearing the gifts of the Confucian school. This person was none other than Dustless, Xiaoyu, Tianming, Zhang Liang, and the others. However, they had most likely changed their names. Before joining the Confucian school, Dustless had changed his name to Zichen, while Xiaoyu and Tianming were Ziyu and Ziming respectively. I hope these three fellows don't cause any big trouble. Otherwise, given the status of the Confucian school of thought, it would be terrible. Zhang Liang was actually quite worried. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. The news of him sneaking into the mechanical city of the Mo clan and helping the Mo clan had probably spread throughout the entire Qin kingdom. At this moment, if the Confucian school were to cause any major trouble and fall into the hands of others, Yingzheng would probably immediately raise the butcher knife to slaughter the Confucian school. "Hey, you're already so old. Aren't you ashamed to go to school with us?" Tianming looked at Dustless with widened eyes. He was quite jealous. Some people looked dignified no matter what clothes they wore, while others looked like idiots no matter what clothes they wore. The current Dustless was wearing a Confucian robe, and his temperament immediately changed. Originally, Dustless's appearance was close to androgynous, and after a bit of dressing up, it was even harder to tell if he was a man or a woman. The scholarly little sage manor that he was in had already been labeled as a scholar. Combined with Wu Chen's ethereal temperament, he more or less gave off the feeling of a great scholar. On the other hand, Tianming looked like an idiot. Because his clothes were too wide, they almost drooped on his body. Xiaoyu's shoulders and height were slightly better than Tianming's, but Tianming's robe directly dragged on the ground. "You guys be careful." Zhang Liang looked at the three lazy people and suddenly lost confidence in his heart. Dustless, Xiao Yu, and Tianming were all wanted criminals. Almost every day, a large number of ordinary people would gather in front of their arrest warrants, and even the people of the Confucian school would gather. If they were discovered by the Qin Kingdom's soldiers, the Confucian school would definitely be sent to hell. You guys go back and rest for a while. I heard that young Master Fu Su will be coming soon. Tianming and Xiaoyu, you two don't come out for a while. Zhang Liang raised his voice, and there was a hint of warning in his tone. Then why didn't you restrict him? Tianming pointed at Dustless and complained with great dissatisfaction. I'm the big son of the Mo family. The dignified big brother of the Mo family is restricted. This guy has no power and no influence, but nothing happened to him. It's not fair. Where did this kid get so many words from? Dustless shook his head and left. Following Zhang Liang's guidance, he went straight to a place not far away to rest. The world of adults was not understood by little kids, and it was impossible for them to integrate into the same topic. I don't know when that Chu Nangong will come. Hearing that Fu Su was coming to the Sage Manor, Dustless was quite happy. Without a doubt, this sudden visit was definitely not a good thing. Without a doubt, they were definitely here to cause trouble for the Confucian school. Dustless still remembered that there was a woman called Gongsun Linglong, and Chu Nangong was also in the queue, as was Xing Hun from the Yinyang school. After snatching the Yellowstone Heavenly Book from Chu Nangong, Dustless would immediately retreat. As for Tianming and Xiaoyu, there was no need for them to meddle in other people's business. After all, it had nothing to do with them. Chapter 1825. Time flew by, and it was already the next morning. Perhaps it was because Zhang Liang had informed everyone in advance, but no one cared about the 3 extra students from the Confucian school. Not many people cared about Xiaoyu and Tianming. Dustless, on the other hand, had caused quite a stir. As for the specific reason, he himself did not know. However, it was not until the morning class that Dustless realized why he had attracted so much attention. You look like you're full of wisdom, but you can't even recognize a single word. You can't even write a single word. Faced with such a question, Dustless wanted to cry but had no tears. He was even worse than Tianming. At least this guy could recognize a few words, but Dustless could not even read Xiaozhuan, let alone write it. The thoughts of the ancients are really troublesome, especially the Qin's Xiaozhuan. Because Dustless was too strange, Fu Nian, who came to teach the class, was very angry. This guy was so angry that he made Dustless stand outside as punishment. Tianming, who was supposed to be punished, was now Dustless's turn. He was also called the King of the Bottom. If it was in the past, Dustless would have turned a deaf ear to such a ridiculous punishment. However, now that he still needed to stay in the Confucian school, it would be a tragedy if he was expelled. Dustless had no choice but to use his clone to deal with Fu Nian, while he went out to have fun. The scenery in Shanghai is not bad. Let's go out for a walk. Just as Dustless was about to sneak out from the back door, an unexpected figure suddenly appeared from the back door. She obviously knew Dustless and just nodded slightly before leaving. Isn't this Sherlon? Staring at the girl who brushed past him, Dustless was somewhat surprised. He followed her line of sight and saw Sherlon carrying an exquisite wooden bucket, similar to a lunchbox in the future. A strong fragrance came from it. She was probably here to deliver food to the Confucian students. Due to the Confucian school's belief that a gentleman should stay away from the kitchen, it had always been the kitchen's inn that was responsible for providing food to the little Sage Manor. And Sherlon was the kitchen's errand boy. Sherlangu. No, you brat, stop right there. Dustless shouted loudly. Then he realized that he had said something wrong and quickly changed his words. He turned into a breeze and chased after her. Now Sherlon was disguised as a man. She was a handsome young man through and through. Sherlon just quietly looked at Dustless, who was blocking in front of her. Her face was calm, and her breathing was even. She looked very calm, but there were no ripples in the depths of her eyes. There's something wrong with you, kid. Staring at Sherlon, Dustless said meaningfully. You didn't even greet me when you saw me. Are you treating me like air? Salute? You're not an official or a noble, so what's the point of bowing? It was rare for Sherlon to open her mouth, so she asked calmly, I feel that you are very strange, blocking other people's path for no reason. If there is nothing else, please move aside. Hee. Hearing this, Dustless just smiled faintly and said, How can it be an unintentional mistake? Don't you feel that you are too calm in front of your customers? Confucian scholars are your boss's frequent customers. At the very least, you should be more respectful to me. What are you trying to say? With a rare frown, Sherlon asked puzzledly. She keenly sensed that Dustless's words had a hidden meaning. Don't you think it's strange that a waiter who does odd jobs is too calm in front of his employer, and an employer who is deliberately looking for trouble? If you were shopkeeper Ding now, you might have bowed and apologized. But your unshakable attitude will easily arouse other people's suspicion. Dustless said with a smile. His eyes were full of ridicule and ridicule. Boring topic. Hearing this, Sherlan's face changed slightly. She took a detour and left. She suddenly felt that it made sense. Facing a person whose status and identity was infinitely higher than her expression didn't change at all. She didn't even care. Wasn't this full of flaws? Sometimes a flawless plan was full of flaws. This guy. Sherlon turned her head and glanced at the smiling Dustless. She suddenly labeled him as a dangerous person. Even though Dustless looked harmless just now, Sherlon felt inexplicably nervous when talking to him. She had never felt this way before. His clear eyes, which seemed bored and lazy, were terrifying as if they could see through people's hearts. Don't be in a hurry to leave. I still have something to tell you. Dustless pulled Sherlan's little hand like a ghost. He leaned close to her ear and blew a breath of hot air. He said, I have a friend who has some connections in the Mirage. He invited me to go up as a guest. Do you want to go? The Mirage? You mean the Mirage? Hearing this, Sherlan's heart trembled violently. A trace of disgust and hatred flashed in the depths of her bright eyes. She immediately noticed that Dustless had pulled her hand and touched it twice without leaving a trace. Sherlon immediately broke free. Don't try to scare me. The Mirage is a place that only those big shots can go up. You are just a powerless Confucian disciple. What kind of backing do you have? Liar. Do you think that you are the head of the Confucian school? It is understandable that he was invited to the Mirage. Sherlon coldly refused, but her quick-witted eyes were rolling around, extremely bright. This cunning little girl. Seeing this, Dustless couldn't help but smile. He smiled but didn't say anything. After carefully analyzing the meaning behind her words, one would realize that although Sherlon rejected him on the surface, she was actually secretly questioning who Dustless knew. Still trying to trick me. This little girl is a liar. She thinks too highly of herself. Dustless rolled his eyes. He naturally understood the meaning behind Sherlan's words. Chapter 1826. Tisk Tsk. I won't tell you this. All in all, you only need to know that I can enter the Mirage at will. I have a powerful backer. Wu Chen shrugged his shoulders, beaming with joy and complacency. After that, he took out an invitation card that was similar to an invitation letter. This is, sure enough, after seeing the special invitation card, Sherlan's pupils suddenly shrank. She clearly found that the last person who wrote the invitation card was Yin Zhongjuan. Do you know Yin Zhongjuan? Sherlon asked suspiciously. She stared at Dustless from head to toe. Except for his handsome face and unique temperament, there seemed to be nothing special about him. How could he know a big shot like Yin Zhongjuan? He was the owner of the Mirage. Of course I don't know him. Dustless shook his head and said with a smile, however, I know a friend. His family is in the business of medicinal herbs, and is often responsible for delivering goods to the Shenglu building. He picked up the invitation card in his hand and said, only with this can you enter the Shenglu building at will. Is that so? Hearing this, Sherlon did not doubt him. She just nodded in confusion and believed his words. It was a fact that a large number of medicinal herbs were often sent to the mirage. The fish has taken the bait. Looking at Sherlon, who was deep in thought, Dustless laughed secretly. Of course he had made up this nonsense. Where did this invitation card come from? As the saying went, it was easier to become an official if one had connections in the court. With Yueshin, an invisible subordinate, it was easy for Dustless to get this kind of invitation card. Can you really enter the mirage? Sherlon looked at Dustless with a longing look. Although she concealed the longing in her words cleverly, Dustless heard it clearly. This was normal. Sherlan's brother was caught in the mirage. She had always wanted to sneak into the coffin in the sea, but there was no suitable opportunity. Moreover, there were many experts in the mirage. If she sneaked in rashly, she would definitely get burned. Yes, I can, but, after glancing at Sherlon, Dustless lowered his voice and said, "But why should I take you in? What if you have evil intentions and do something terrible? Won't I be implicated?" "I promise to be obedient." Hearing this, Sherlon hurriedly put on the look of an obedient child, afraid that Dustless would refuse. She raised her arms high and was about to make a vow to impress Dustless. "I have no proof. How am I supposed to determine if you're telling the truth? Furthermore, your attitude toward me earlier was simply too vile. It's better that I find someone else to go to the mirage with me." Dustless purposely turned around and left. "Wait." Seeing Dustless leave, Sherlon hesitated for a moment before she hurriedly chased after him and asked, "What conditions do you have? As long as I can fulfill them, I will definitely not refuse." This guy. Why does he have to jump into the fire pit himself? Hearing this, Dustless's mind was moved. The corner of his mouth raised slightly, and he couldn't help but laugh shamelessly. On the surface, he looked very wretched. "Sherlon, if I'm not wrong, you should be a girl, right?" Immediately after, there was another wave of strange laughter. Sherlan's face instantly turned extremely pale. She already vaguely understood the dirty conditions Dustless proposed. This guy is really shameless. Sherlan's pretty face flashed with anger. Since Dustless knew that she was a girl, he still proposed conditions and even shamelessly threatened her. In particular, his wretched laughter made Sherlon feel even more uncomfortable. Sherlan's calm eyes gradually became colder. "Your invitation letter. I will accept it. It would be impolite for me to decline." Sherlon, who originally looked weak, suddenly became extremely vigorous. Her toes lightly touched the ground, and her body rapidly flew over like a migrating bird. Her soft jade-like hand had already grabbed Dustless's invitation letter. "You want to use force?" Dustless narrowed his eyes, and a dangerous light shot out from the slits of his eyes. Too slow. A strange light swept across his body, and Dustless instantly retreated dozens of meters away, as if he had teleported. How did you do that?" Realizing that she had grabbed nothing, Sherlan's beautiful eyes widened several times. She didn't even notice Dustless retreating, and she didn't even see how he moved. "Ever since Mo family's mechanical city, my bounty has been increased to 1 million gold by that guy Zheng. If I was casually caught by a little girl like you, I would have died a long time ago." Dustless mercilessly attacked Sherlon, and said indifferently, "With your strength, you still need to cultivate for thousands of years to catch up with my shadow." Arrogant. Sherlon didn't appreciate his words, and once again rushed towards Dustless. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, the scene was the same as before. After the sharp sound of breaking through the air, Dustless evaporated on the spot again. Sherlon helplessly realized that she couldn't catch up with Dustless's speed. She couldn't even see the speed of others, let alone catch up with Dustless. "Do I have to agree to this guy's shameless condition?" Sherlon thought indignantly. When she thought of Dustless's disgusting condition, her eyes turned red, and she looked quite aggrieved. Her brother was caught by Yin Zhongjuan, and now she encountered a shameless person. Sherlan's heart was about to collapse. "Ahem, Miss Sherlon, I haven't said my condition yet, right? Please don't act like you are about to be violated. I feel very wronged." Dustless was depressed when he saw this. It seemed that he hadn't said his condition yet. It seemed that Sherlon had misunderstood. "You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.